Faso's president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has reported...
Exploitation dressed as friendship. We are not against the world. We are for our people. And we welcome any nation that respects us as equals.
Economic projections are compelling. Burkina Faso is going to experience over 5,000 new...
Burkina Faso just made history. President Ibrahim Traore has broken ground on what's being called Africa's longest irrigation canal, a bold move that's turning heads across the continent. This isn't just about water. It's about rewriting the future of agriculture, food security, and independence for millions. The dry plains are about to become green lifelines. And at the center of it all is one fearless leader refusing to let the Sahel stay barren. What does this mean for Africa's future? Stick around, because this story is much bigger than you think. The bulldozers have rolled in, and Africa will never be the same. The dust cloud rose like a signal fire. Bulldozers, survey drones, and thousands of workers lined up along the arid stretch between Burkina Faso and the Sahel. Ibrahim Traore, the man once mocked by Western analysts as too young and too revolutionary, stood with a hard hat and a vision. The continent watched as the first ground was broken on what will become Africa's longest irrigation canal, a project so massive it makes the Suez look like a garden trench. This isn't just about water. This is about independence. This is about rewriting the script for African agriculture. Traore's blueprint spans over 1,200 kilometers, cutting across Burkina Faso, linking to tributaries in Mali, Niger, and even tapping the southern banks of the Niger River. The ambition is terrifying in the best way possible. He's not waiting for foreign aid. He's not taking IMF loans. He's using mineral revenues, crypto reserves, and bilateral trades with non-Western allies to fund the canal outright. The West built railroads to extract our gold, he said during the groundbreaking ceremony. We will build canals to feed our children. What you're seeing now isn't just construction, it's a rebirth. Farms that have been dry for decades will bloom again. Villages that prayed for rain will have a constant flow. And more importantly, a message has been sent. Africa is done begging. With this canal, Traore isn't just watering crops. He's watering a revolution that's been thirsty for centuries. More than a canal, it's a lifeline for the Sahel. You can't understand the scale of this thing until you stand next to it. Trenches wide as highways, pumping stations the size of stadiums. But what makes this project revolutionary isn't just its engineering, it's its purpose. The Sahel, once vibrant, has suffered from years of desertification, climate neglect, and broken promises. Entire communities abandoned their lands because there simply wasn't enough water to survive. Traore looked at this disaster and saw an opportunity. His canal won't just carry water, it'll carry hope. Plans show that the canal will supply over 40 million people with access to sustainable irrigation and clean water, and not just for drinking. This will revive rice fields, cotton plantations, and mango groves. Smallholder farmers who used to dig wells with their bare hands are now forming cooperatives, backed by government grants and guaranteed access to the canal. It's genius. Traore isn't just feeding people, he's creating an economy from the soil up. And while Western media tries to frame him as a populist firebrand, the truth is, he's working smarter than anyone in the room. His engineers are a mix of Burkinabe youth and African expats who came back from Europe to build their future at home. Traore's not forcing them, he's inspiring them. And here's what makes it wild. The canal cuts through regions once torn by conflict. Now, warlords are laying down arms to become contractors. That's right, Traore's turning battlefield zones into breadbaskets, not with speeches, with water, with willpower, with action.
Economic projections are compelling. Burkina Faso is going to experience over 5,000 new jobs in the tech sector by 2030. And also an estimated 15% increase in rice production through satellite-guided irrigation. This is one of the best, honestly. If all the African economies could adopt this system, we will be good to go, because honestly, in this era, there's nothing good than having an effortless irrigation in any farm. Now, this is going to create an attraction of more than $200 million.
The West didn't see it coming, and now they're nervous. Let's be real, the usual global powers are not happy about this. Why? Because Traoré didn't ask them for help. He didn't knock on the doors of the IMF. He didn't invite the EU to set terms. Instead, he tapped into BRICS partnerships, secured infrastructure aid from Turkey and the UAE, and got technical input from South Korean hydrologists. That's a nightmare scenario for neo-colonial players. Here's the twist. Traoré made it clear this project wasn't anti-West, it was pro-Africa. But the West can't stand when Africa acts like it doesn't need babysitting, and now they're scrambling. Think tanks are suddenly publishing reports questioning the environmental sustainability of the project. News outlets are painting the canal as a geopolitical gamble. And yet, on the ground, none of that noise matters. Families are digging channels with their own hands. Local schools are creating irrigation curriculum modules. Women's groups are managing cooperative water tanks. This canal isn't just a pipe, it's a movement. And Traoré's genius is how he's handling the criticism. He doesn't argue, he doesn't defend, he just builds. While European leaders debate carbon footprints, Traoré is planting forests along the canal banks. While lobbyists whine about trade disruptions, he's launching solar farms to power the water flow. In a world where politics is mostly performance, Traoré is performance through production. He's outworking everyone. And the West, for all its think tanks and policy briefs, suddenly finds itself watching a 36-year-old revolutionary irrigate an empire of self-reliance. Tech, tradition, and the Traoré formula. Here's what most people don't realize. Traoré didn't just order a canal, he designed a system. This isn't a one-off vanity project. It's an integrated, continent-aware masterstroke. The canal incorporates satellite-monitored flow gauges, AI-based irrigation timing systems, and drone surveillance to spot leaks or sabotage attempts. But it's not just high-tech, it's high-trust. Villagers are being trained to manage their own sections, using traditional water-sharing customs mixed with modern efficiency models. That's the Traoré formula. Blend indigenous knowledge with global innovation. He's got Fulani herders advising engineers on how to divert cattle routes without disrupting nomadic patterns. Mossi elders are consulted before land is touched, ensuring ancestral lands are respected. You know what that does? It eliminates resistance. It invites unity. This project doesn't just bring water, it brings purpose. And while other nations fight over water rights, Traoré is signing water-sharing agreements in advance. With Mali, with Niger, even with Chad. He's making this canal a continental pact, not just a national project. It's diplomacy through infrastructure. Even the funding model is innovative. Instead of centralizing profits, Traoré structured it so each region gets equity in their portion of the canal. That means locals aren't just users, they're stakeholders. That's how you prevent corruption. That's how you create legacy. This isn't just some trench in the dirt. This is Africa's bloodstream, designed to pump opportunity to every corner it touches. And it's all happening because one man refused to do things the old way.
New model of African development. Stay with me till the end because I will reveal the one factor that could determine whether this bold vision succeeds or fails. And also how the African diaspora might play a crucial role. Let's begin with a project that addresses a problem familiar across Africa, Air Burkina Revival. When 80% of West African air traffic is handled by non-African airlines, the economic costs are enormous. That's why Traoré's government has invested $450 million to revive Air Burkina with fleet upgrades and airport modernization. The economics are particularly interesting. African aviation is projected to grow 9% annually over the next 2 decades. Airport construction alone has created nearly 5,000 direct and indirect jobs. And that literally means that improved accessibility will boost both
the seeds of tomorrow, what the future looks like now. Let's fast forward 5 years. The canal is complete. The drylands of northern Burkina Faso are now emerald green. Children who once walked miles for water now splash in backyard fountains. Crops that hadn't grown in 20 years now feed entire provinces. That's not a dream. It's a projection Traoré's own Ministry of Agriculture has published. But more than the harvest, it's the ripple effect that matters. With the canal up and running, food exports increase, lowering Africa's dependency on imported grain. Traoré plans to build agro-processing zones right along the canal, creating jobs and local value chains. Farmers become exporters, villagers become entrepreneurs. And remember those youths who once risked their lives migrating north? They're staying, they're building, they're thriving. That's what water does. It roots people in place. It turns chaos into community. Schools are rising, clinics are opening, life expectancy is climbing, and it's all connected to this single audacious act of irrigation. This canal is more than infrastructure. It's a philosophy, a declaration that Africa doesn't need handouts. It needs leadership. And Traoré, for all his bold moves and military roots, has become something no one expected. A builder, a unifier, a man who understands that you don't have to conquer the world to change it. You just have to water your corner of it until it grows. And now, all of Africa is watching, inspired, and asking the most important question of all. If he can do it, why can't we? From dust to destiny, Traoré's irrigation canal isn't just a construction project, it's a revolution in the making. As the waters begin to flow, so too does a new era for Africa, one of self-reliance, innovation, and unstoppable hope. While the world watches in silence, Burkina Faso rises with thunder. And this canal? It's just the beginning. If you believe in bold visions, in leaders who fight for the land and its people, then this is your moment to tune in. Like, share, and let the world know Africa is reclaiming its power.
Of the United States, President Donald Trump of the United States has appointed a new AFRICOM general to take over General Langley, who was the former commander of AFRICOM and has been in that function since 2022 August. My name is Archive. If this is your first time coming across this platform, hey, do this. Like this video, follow me, because you want to keep having updates from in and around the African continent. As well, do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comment section, like the video, share to as many as you can, repost. And if you are watching on other platforms, subscribe to the page so that you would keep having updates as they come up. Okay, thank you so much. So, guys, it is time to open our eyes. It is time to be on the alert. Why? Because dynamics are changing. Things are changing. They have gone back to their drawing board to revisit their strategies. And so we, as the people of Africa, need to also revisit our strategies. So Donald Trump has appointed a new general who will take over the AFRICOM command. And this new guy is Dagvin Anderson. He is a United States Air Force Lieutenant General, right? And he is taking over from Michael Langley. Guys, what does this mean? They have revisited their drawing board and they are looking for new strategies. If you read online, if you see their propaganda, they continue to insist that Africa is suffering from terrorism, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and all what we know, right? And so they want him to come and solve this problem. The United States is saying that Michael Langley failed as he was unable to maintain the American base in Niger. So according to them, Langley failed. And you guys, we need to know that they are telling this new general that you don't need to fail. You have no reason on earth to fail in your mission. So people of Africa, we need to rise up. We need to stay on the alert, because at any time we would have to take action. And in the meantime, we need to start welcoming this so-called general, right? We need to go to the comment section and start tagging him and begin to send him the messages that we have to send to him, because he needs to be careful. He has to be careful. African people are not those that they thought in the early 18th and early 19th century. It is over. It's game over. We want our freedom, and we want our freedom. So people, what does this mean? We need to know that he is coming in another level. So we need to stay smart. And by the way, I continue to question this so-called AFRICOM institution. Who gave them the audacity to set up a so-called institution to look of, to watch and monitor what the people of Africa are doing? I don't remember Africa ever setting up an institution to monitor what Europe is doing, to monitor what America is doing, to monitor what anybody is doing. Africa has never set up that. They are able to do this because they control the African Union, they finance the African Union, they control the SADC because they finance the SADC institution, they control the East Bloc because they finance the East Bloc, they control the CEMAC region because they finance the CEMAC region, they control the ECOWAS region because they literally finance the ECOWAS region as well. This is really sad. And it is time for us to continue to question these kind of things that is happening in Africa, and our leaders are doing absolutely nothing about that. They don't want to do it. We, the people of Africa, we are going to keep questioning it until they stop monitoring what we are doing in our continent. So we need to keep being smart, and we need to be ready at any time to take action. And stay tuned, because more is going to keep coming.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market. Staggering rise.
Country in Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
But the local farmers.
All right, good afternoon, folks. Once again, this is Frank. I am your host. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series aspect of WCC. Welcome you all as you can. Please share the live, subscribe, hit the red button, hit the blue button or the green button. No, the blue button. Sorry. All right. So, to the topic, it says, U.S. appoint new AFRICOM, or a terrorist group called AFRICOM, general, but the mission remain the same. U.S. appoint the new AFRICOM, or a terrorist group, general, but despite appointing a new general for AFRICOM, their mission remain the same. The West have never meant any good for Africa. U.S. appoint new general, but the mission of the AFRICOM remain the same. Just because they have come out to appoint a new general, that doesn't mean the mission of AFRICOM change. And by the way, AFRICOM, it just means the U.S. command Africa. The U.S. command Africa. The US control Africa. That's what AFRICOM mean. US command. US commanding Africa. US giving order about Africa. US demanding Africa. US colonizing Africa. US subjugating Africa. US oppressing Africa. US looting Africa resources. US assassinating African leaders. That is why it means US command Africa. Now, today's topics, right? All right, let me take a deep breath. Had it not been that, Africans, both home and abroad, were able to collaborate, were able to unite, had it not been that Africans, both home and abroad, Black people, both home and abroad, had it not been that we were able, or we have come to realize the aim of the imperialist, had it not been that we were able to mobilize, to understand the continuing plots, subjugation, humiliation, proxy war of the US and Europe, had it not been, Michael Leslie would not have been replaced. Michael Leslie would not have been replaced. Because these are the questions that we have to be asking, and we are asking. Had it not been that Black people, both home and abroad, were able to come out to single out Michael Leslie's statement and his aim of the US, because Michael Leslie spoke for Washington, D.C. Michael Leslie spoke for EU. Michael Leslie spoke for the colonizer. Michael Leslie spoke for the enslaver. Michael Leslie spoke for the capitalist nation. So the way in which he spoke, that was exactly Washington, D.C. That was exactly EU. That was exactly France. That was exactly the demon speaking. These enemies of Africa speaking. Michael Leslie just used his mouth to speak because he is an agent and was sent as an agent. And as an agent, you speak the word. You speak the vision. You speak the understanding. You speak the minds of those who you are serving to be an agent for. So had it not been that we were able to come out to put Michael Leslie in his place or in his place, Michael Leslie was never ever going to resign. Michael Leslie was never ever going to be replaced. If only African people around the world were going to fall for Michael Leslie's statement or allegation against Abraham Traoré, Michael Leslie would have been from 4-star general to 5-star general. He was going to get another star. And he was never going to resign. The only reason why he resigned or he's been replaced is because he has realized his family, his children, his wife has spoken to him and said our lives are in danger. Because not only African on the African continent, or not only Black people on the African continent, but Black people all around the world have spoken against you. And they have spoken against you. That means our life are in danger. We cannot go anywhere. Your wife can't go no African, no Black nation. Your children cannot go to no Black nation. And the white nation are not enough. Because the Black nation dominates the white nation around the world. So that means our life are a threat. Michael Leslie only resigned because His wife, his family, I believe, has spoken to him that this approach that you have taken to die for the colonizer, our life are in danger. Because the mission was clear. So he only changed or resigned because of the action or the warning. I don't even want to say action. The warning from black people. If you touch Abraham Traore all around the world, nobody will be safe. And you know who will not be safe. There was a warning. If you touch Abraham Traore, all American embassy on the African continent will be dealt with. All American embassy around the world in black nation will be dealt with. That was a warning to them. Because America had the habit of unallowing Africans leaders who want betterment for Africa, who want to improve the life of the African people, both home and abroad. Washington, D.C. and NATO nation have the habit of unallowing those people. So they have come to realize that we understand what they stand for. They stand for chaos on the African continent. They don't stand for good or any good for the African people. That is why they always kill African revolutionary leader. They always kill African democratic leader. And then they live in puppets. They live in dictator. And they praise those dictators. Have you heard the United States talking about the people of DRC Congo? Since when have they come out to talk about the millions of people that are dying every day in DRC Congo? Since when have they come out to talk about the life of Africans, that they want to go save Africans in DRC Congo? Since when have they come out to talk about humanity? Since when have they come out to talk about, oh, we love people, we love Africa, we love the people in DRC Congo, we need to go free them? Since when? Since when have they spoken about the people in Sudan, that we love African, we love the Sudanese? Since when have they? Since when? Since when did they ever speak about the people in Liberia when we have 14 years, 15 years of civil war? They sat in the embassy, they watched on with American-made weapons for proliferating in Liberia and destroying Liberia. Since when? By the way, it was Liberian themselves. It was not the U.S. that sent any peace fashion. It was Liberian themselves who decided we are tired dying. Because that was the message of the U.S. to AU and ECWA. That was the message of the United States to AU and ECWA. Do not go to Liberia for peacekeeping until we are ready. That was the message of the U.S. to ECWA and AU. Do not go to Liberia for any peacekeeping until we are ready. Because the United States bought ECWA and EU and paid them off. I mean, ECWA and AU paid them off not to ever step in Liberia until they are ready. And the only reason why they did that after 14, 15 years was because Liberian people then recognized the U.S. and say, because the war that was in Liberia was deeper than what Liberians themselves think. It was not a civil war. It was international war fought on the land, on the soil of Liberia. We have these dictators in Africa. You never see the United States talk. If you follow the pattern of the US and NATO or the European Africa, they have always gone against African leaders who want good for Africa. They go and kill them. And then we still have the audacity for the US or NATO to come to us to tell us they want to come to fight alongside with us. How can the terrorists come and tell you we want to come and collaborate with you to go kill terrorists? Yes, those that kill Patrick Lumumba, they are terrorists. Those that kill Gaddafi, they are terrorists. Those that destroy Libya, they are terrorists. Those that kill Thomas Sankara, they are terrorists, directly or indirectly, they are terrorists. Those that kill Amilcar Cabral, they are terrorists. Those that fought hard to remove Kwame Nkrumah for power until he went to exile or in another African country. Sorry to say exile. They are terrorists. Those people are terrorists. And those that want to kill currently Abraham Traoré, those people are terrorists. So how can these people come to you to tell you we want to come and fight the terrorists? We could have believed them if they were going to work with Gaddafi based on Gaddafi's dream. But later on, the same people came back to us and told us, no, we did not kill Gaddafi because Gaddafi wanted to unite Africa. I mean, let's say we did not kill Gaddafi because Gaddafi was a dictator. We did not kill Gaddafi because Gaddafi hated African people or hated African dream. They themselves came out and told us they killed Gaddafi because Gaddafi wanted to unite Africa. They themselves came out to tell us they killed Gaddafi because Gaddafi wanted one currency of Africa. Because Gaddafi wanted one army of Africa. Because Gaddafi decided no African nation will go to the IMF, will go to the World Bank. Because Gaddafi decided we have resources. There is no need for us to be going to Europe and America asking them for crumbs. Because Gaddafi said, if anybody is to ask for crumbs, it should be the US or EU coming to Africa asking African for crumbs. They themselves said it. That's why they killed Gaddafi for. And then who still got the audacity to still believe these people when they tell you, oh, we want to come to fight for you. We want to have AFRICOM on the African continent. These people have billion-dollar drone base in Africa. They did not fight terrorists. Then you hear Michael Leslie, the slave, telling you the aim of AFRICOM is not for US to go and die for Africans. It is the right, it is the fight of the African people to fight the terrorists. Then why are you there? Why are you there? Now I ask you this question to some of you who still believe that because Michael Leslie have been changed and then they bring in another white man, then they are coming to fight for you. The mission remains the same. And by the way, in the Congress, they were asking Michael Leslie, now that you are resigning, what recommendation do you have for us as we are about to elect or to nominate or to appoint a new general for Africa? What recommendation do you have for us? Michael Leslie has left, but the mission of Africa remains the same. You still asking this man that African people went against. African people march. African people send a message to the US and EU. You asking this man, what recommendation can we take? Can you lead so that the new general can forcefully foresee those recommendations? The mission remains the same. African, black people, I bring you greeting, I bring you messages. The new commander for the AFRICOM is called Darwin R.M. Anderson. We don't need him. First of all, we don't even need AFRICOM. We don't need this man, and we don't need AFRICOM. Maybe the US have not yet gotten the message of African people. Maybe. We don't even need AFRICOM, that alone, to talk about changing the general. Because that general you are changing is not going to work. He's not going to be welcome. We're going to chase him out the same way we chase their slave Michael Leslie out. We don't need him. The point here, maybe US have not yet getting the message. We don't even need African corrupt leader. That's the point we are trying to make here. African puppet, we don't need them. If we don't need our own people who are puppet, why are you even going to even bring white men to come and speak to us on the African continent about protecting Africa? The man that is speaking, the man that is standing out to protect Africa, to save African, you want to unalive this man. You want to kill Abraham Traore. Then how can you come out again to tell us you want to fight for Africans? When you want to kill the men who are fighting for African, I thought if you want to fight for African, you will work alongside with the man who is fighting for African. But you want to unalive the people who are fighting for African, and then you come to tell us you want to fight for African? Are you dumb? You are delusional to think that we will believe you. Maybe our forefather yesterday, somehow were able to believe you. Maybe. And you think it is this generation. Your plan is to kill Abraham Traore. Your plan is to kill Assimi Goïta. Your plan is to kill Tiani. That's your plan. And these are people who are fighting not only to fight terrorists, but these are people who are fighting for the next generation. These are people who are fighting even for this current generation to have a place called Africa, to have a place called home. You want to unalive them. And then come out and tell us you want to fight for us. How? Explain to us. Make it make sense. Anyway, maybe the US didn't get a message here. Your downfall. You are your cause. You are the cause of your own downfall, not Africans. Not the man who is sitting here talking. Not the man who is sitting making contents. Not the man who is saying, I love Africa. Not the man who is saying, I love Abraham Traore. Not the man who is saying, Africa needs to take her place. How can you say, America, you are coming to fight for Africa when you're telling us you don't want Africa to have power? Yes, yesterday you told us if Africa had a seat on the United Nations, Africa or the United Nations will become useless. That means you are telling us we are useless beings. We are useless Africans. I don't even know what African leader, some African leader, how do they think? They already told you, you are useless. You are meaningless. If you have a permanent seat, if you have a veto power, the United Nations will become useless, will become meaningless. And then the same people will come and tell you, we want to come to fight for you. Who in this world fought for a meaningless being? Who in this world fought for a useless being? No one in this world fight for something that is meaningless. No one in this world die for something that is useless. You will never ever in this world, in this life, give your life to something that is not worth. So if we are useless, if we are meaningless, why do you want to come and die for us? Why are you so arrogant to die for us, America? Stop dying for us. Don't die for us. Just leave us alone. We will die for ourselves. Because you have never ever died for us. Never. In history, you have died for us. Name me a time in history that you have died for us. Oh yes, but we can name a time plenty in history that we have died for you. But there is no time in history that Washington, D.C. have died for us. There is no time in history that Europe have died for us. There is no time in history that the Western world have died for black people. There is no time in history. And there is no time in history that black people have oppressed white people. No time in history. But time to time, in memorial, ancient of days, histories are there of your act against black people. So you will never die for us. You will never save us. You have never been a savior. Since the day of creation, white people have never been a savior to black people. Since the day of creation, the Western world have never been a savior to the black race. There's no time in history that we can point to that you ever came and saved us. There's no time in history that we can point to that you came and died for us. No time in history. No time in history that you have ever died for the black race. There is no time in history. Ancients of days, no time. We can never find it because it never exists. Let's continue here. That's my introduction. Now, before we come to the main topic as we get into it, right? Let's look at Darvin Anderson, the new commander that is replacing the slave Michael Lansley, because the slave master himself is now coming. The slave could not do the job, so the slave master have to come to do the job. The slave, Michael Lansley, could not do the job, right? The slave himself, let's say the slave master himself, Anderson, is now coming to do the job that his slave did not do. Imagine if the slave failed to do the job, the slave master have to come to do the job. That's what I mean. The slave go, the slave master come. So let's see who the slave master is. Let's see who the slave master is. And let's see where the slave master have been. And let's see if the slave master ever free or ever liberated those places he has served before he's coming to save African or to free the African continent. First of all, let me say this to the United States. The predicament that we are in today was also caused by the US and Europe. The predicament that African people, that black people around the world today are in, it was caused by the United States and Europe. The colonizer and the enslaver, it was caused by them. And the systematic oppression, subjugation, sanction, and killing of African visionary leader was all caused by the United States and NATO or EU. So that we make that clear. The freedom that we are fighting for today, we are not fighting that freedom to gain freedom from China. We are not fighting that freedom to gain freedom from Russia, or neither to gain freedom from North Korea. But everything that we are fighting today, everything that we are talking about today, we are talking it because of the US. We are talking it because of Europe. So if we are saying Africa should take her rightful place, we are saying it because the United States and Europe step on African from African to take their rightful place. And for Eastern African want to take their rightful place, who go against the vision of Africans, the US and Europe, not Russia, not China, not North Korea. I'm measuring those people name because those are the people that the US or Europe will always want to call to deframe as, hey, they are this, they are this. That's why I'm measuring their name. Let's continue here. Let's read something here. Navy Amara Air Force General selected to harm CENTCOM and AFRICOM. All right. So the CENTCOM, they are talking, these are like the Asian country, right? So now these are the two slaves, these are the two masters, all right? Now the slave is gone. Now they bring the slave master. These are the two slave masters who are coming to take over because the slave, Malcolm Leslie, could not succeed the aim of the slave master. So the slave master himself or themselves had to step in with the whip because the slave could not whip, or the slave was unable to whip his people. So the slave master himself or themselves have to come to whip the slave. So this guy you see with the marks on, he's Cooper. He's the one serving in the Asian country. All right. Now, the guy you see here on the other side here with the marks, that's the slave master Anderson. So this one is the one that's going to go to Africa to start whipping African. What did you now listen to the slave? Hey? Now the slave master himself have to come. He's the one to go and to whip African or a puppet leader, be whipping them. What did you feel? Right here. All right. So he's the one going to be over the horse, going around Africa, whipping African or puppet leader. This guy right here. So let's continue here. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we are here to connect the dots. All right. Now, we're going to see where these people have served, or maybe Anderson, the slave master, have served. Let's see if they succeeded. They have any success there. Now, President Donald Trump, again, now, just because President Donald Trump is here, look, the liberal and the conservative all do the same. If even it was Joe Biden in power and this happened to the slave, Michael Leslie, they was going to do the same thing. All right? So don't say, oh, President Trump is there, President Trump is this. Look, God sent, the Almighty, the Most High sent Donald Trump to expose these people. Donald Trump was put there to expose these people. Let's continue here. President Donald Trump has nominated a Navy admiral to become the next leader of U.S. Central Command. U.S. Central Command. Now, you see right here, U.S. Command, U.S. commanding those nations, those continents, U.S. Command an Air Force General to take charge of U.S. African Command, of U.S. commanding Africa. That's what I mean. Of U.S. commanding Africa. Period. That's what AFRICOM stands for. And the Pentagon announced on Wednesday. Right? Let's see here. Let's continue here. We're going to connect the dot. Vice Admin Chair Brad Cooper. Cooper is the one serving in an Asian country. All right? Was nominated to lead CENTCOM, which oversee U.S. forces and operation, U.S. forces and operation across the Middle East. Now, what success did the United States have in the Middle East? Listen to what it says here. U.S. forces and what? Operation. U.S. operation. Not about the Middle Eastern, not about the people in that region, but their aim, their operation, what they want to do in that part of the world. The United States did not have any success of liberating or freeing the people in the Middle East. The fear that is there today was established by them. Let's continue. The point here is Africa. But get the dot. Now, operation across the Middle East. Now, we know the operation they had there, right? Was it a successful operation for the Middle Eastern, or was a successful operation for the United States and NATO? So whenever these people are talking about peace, their peace will always be different from what you call peace. Let's continue here. And Central Asia, all right? So that's Cooper, Central Asia. According to a Pentagon statement, Air Force Lieutenant General Darvin R.M. Anderson was nominated to U.S. Africa Command, U.S. Command Africa, U.S. Subjugate Africa, U.S. have power over Africa, U.S. oppress Africa, U.S. subjugate Africa, U.S. stand on African right, U.S. Command Africa, which oversee U.S. troop and operation across most of that continent. You hear it? U.S. operation. They did not say U.S. go and fight for Africans. U.S. go and fight terrorists. U.S. go and free Africa. But they said U.S. operation across most of the continent. Now, let's go to right here. I'm not going to read Cooper, all right? So these are all Cooper. Starting from here is Cooper. Now, let's go to Anderson, because that's the slave master we want to talk about. Now, because the slave, Malcolm Leslie, is not there, so they bring in the slave master, all right? They bring in the slave master. Now, let's read it here. Anderson, a pilot who has worked in various roles, including the Air Force, Special Operation. Listen to this, including the Air Force Special Operation. Now, whenever the U.S. want to go and invade an area, all right, they put it in there in our phrase, Special Military Operation. So, people like Anderson were the people or are the people who usually fly the U.S. Air Force for that special military operation. For example, when they went to Libya, when they used the Air Force to bomb Libya, it was people like Anderson who used that Air Force, the plane, to go and bomb Libya. Special military operation, because they put that phrase in the special military operation so that it won't seem that they are invading, so that it won't seem that they went against human rights, because they put that phrase within the United Nations. Special military operation. If the U.S. ever use that term, special military operation, the United Nations does not go after them. So they formed this organization, they put phrase in there to protect their inhumane activities. Now, I gave you one example, right? Anderson, for example, this Air Force pilot, they were the people that bombed Libya today. That's the kind of work of Anderson. So that's the kind of work that they are sending him to go, because he's very good. You remember what Malcolm Leslie said in one of the hearings when they asked him, what do you need? He said, what we need is to increase our Air Force. In Africa, though, what we need is to invest in our military strength in Africa. He did not say is to invest in the African military strength, but he said is to invest in our strength, in our Air Force defense, ground defense, strength on the African continent. Malcolm Leslie might be changed, where the slave master himself is coming in, but the mission of AFRICOM remain the same. And that mission is to destabilize Africa. That mission is for Africa to never rise, because that was the mission, the last statement of the Berlin Conference of 1884. Those that were in our meeting said our descendant will make sure Africa and her descendant will never ever rise. Let's continue here. Let's continue. Anderson, a pilot, has worked in various roles, including the Air Force Special Operation Community, who replaced Michael Leslie, the slave, as the leader of AFRICOM. Leslie has led the command since August 2022 and faced issues. You see? And faced issues, like I said, had it not been that black people around the world came out to warn America, Malcolm Leslie would have still been the general or the commander for Africa. Have it been that we listened to Malcolm Leslie, we listened to that Congress hearing, have it been that we listened to them, Malcolm Leslie would have still been. Have it been that we went against Abraham Traore, have it been that we went against the AES, Malcolm Leslie would have still been the general. Because listen to what it said here. He has been the commander of AFRICOM since August 2022 until he faced issues including the expulsion of U.S. troops from 8 key drone bases in Niger. Now, African, this question becomes America have one of the largest drone bases in Niger. What did they do to counter terrorists? What did they do to fight terrorists? But they have been booted out. Then that's the time they are coming to say, we want to come and save Africans. That does sink in. Malcolm Leslie has gone, but the aim of AFRICOM remains the same. Now, listen to what it said here. Because of the time the U.S. troop from 8 key drone has in Niger have been booted out, a rise in ISIS and Al-Qaeda affiliated terrorist group on the continent and continue operation against Al-Shabaab and other extremist group in Somalia. First of all, it is the same Westerners who are sponsoring these ISIS group. Don't believe me? We are here to share it today. That's why the mission remains the same. All right? Let's continue. All of a sudden, why ISIS, Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, right, are center of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso when these foreign troops have been booted out? Don't believe me? We are here to show you things today. The mission remains the same. So Africans, we do not want understand on the African continent either. The same way we booted out the slave is the same way we do not want the slave master. Let's continue here. Listen to this. Anderson will become the first Air Force officer to him the Stuttgart, Germany-based African command, which oversee operation. Listen to this again. Which oversee operation and military relation in 53 African nations. My God. My God. Which oversee operation and military relation. Now, this operation and military relation on the African continent, for example, Malcolm Leslie already told us the U.S. will never ever fight terrorists on the African continent to die for African. So therefore, this means their operation and military relation in Africa is, for example, what happened in Guinea. Mamadi Mbia was trained by the same AFRICOM to go and remove Kony, the Guinean president. That's the kind of military relation they have. Now, our operation, like what's happening in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, they are using NGO to carry on these weapons. They are using NGOs to carry on weapons to the terrorists. What are other operations? Now, AFRICOM is used, right, to support and feed the terrorists with ammunition, with their basic needs. That's the kind of operation. That's what makes AFRICOM a terrorist group. That's what they do on the African continent. Now, we know about Anderson, right? So Anderson also served in the Middle East with the Air Force. But did they succeed? Or did they want to bomb? Or they bombing our in Yemen? These are the people. Or they bombing our in Afghanistan? These are the people. Or they bombing us in Badr, the Air Force? These are the people that bomb. Let's take this out. Now we know who we're dealing with, right? Who is coming. Let's take this out. Let's see another thing. Let's take this out. Let's see something here again. Before we get to the next one, let's see something here. So before we get to the next one, right? There's a measure we have for the US and Europe. And also there's a measure we have for the so-called Africans, for the so-called black people, right? There's a measures we have. Now, having read the first article, the message here is, we do not need Africa. We do not need the US. We do not need NATO. Because US, NATO have been the problem to the insurgency on the African continent. Yes, we have that to prove. When they killed Gaddafi, it was the same NATO along with the US that sponsored the Islamic group that went and destroyed Libya and killed Gaddafi. It was the same US and NATO that went with the Air Force and bombed Libya and destroyed Libya today. That's a clean evidence. So we do not need the US to fight for us no more, because they are hypocrites, they are demons, they are devil, they are liars, they are deceiver, they lie. And then later they came out to tell us all the thing they told us about Gaddafi was lie. They never killed Gaddafi because he was a dictator. They never killed Gaddafi because he mismanaged the resources. No, they killed Gaddafi because Gaddafi under Libya, or let's say Libya under Gaddafi, was one of the nations on the African continent that did not go to the IMF, that did not go to the World Bank, that did not accept crumbs, that refused to be slave on the US and NATO. That's why they killed Gaddafi for. So there's a message we have for the US and for Africans.
If you want to have your liberation, you want to have your own say, if you want to have your liberation, you want to have your own say, your own authority, go fix your home. Go fix Africa. Let all Africans go fix Africa. If Africa is a safe and secured country to live in, nobody will be in a foreign man's land. Nobody will be a slave in another man's land. Nobody. What are we here for? Can't you see? Is it not clear that slavery continues? Do you think we are out of slavery? We're not. And whenever we have somebody who is springing up to stand his ground to these people, there you see some of you who will come behind to betray your brothers. You betray the good leaders we have in our countries. You betray them. You plan with these same foreigners to bring down the efforts of your brothers that wish our countries in Africa well. So why are you complaining? Just in abroad, so many nurses, engineers, pilots, we have so many of them. What are they doing abroad? When Africa needs them, Africa needs us. Africa needs us. Our country needs us. No matter how much you think you have acquired in another man's land, you are a visitor. You are a visitor, and they will enslave you if they so want to do that. You can't come and dictate for them. This is their home. It's like you coming to my house to tell me what rules and regulations I should put in my house. So long as you're a visitor in my house, you will stay like a visitor. Whatever I say abides. If you want to have your freedom, you want to have your say, get ready to go fix Africa. Get ready to go invest in Africa. Get ready to get rid of bad governments. Get ready to make Africa a safe place for us to stay. Enough of all this. We are lacking. Forget the fact that you are living in abroad. You have all the social amenities. You have whatever it takes for you to live a good life. You are still not okay. You can never be okay. Become a citizen. You're not a first-class citizen. You can never be classified as a first-class citizen.
To love Nigeria.
All right. So that's a message from the Queen. The message here is, what I got from this video is, we are telling the US and NATO, if we are getting rid of corrupt African leaders, that means we don't really need you, because you are not important. You are just like a spittle. So Darwin Anderson is like a spittle. We don't really need him, because even the corrupt African leader, they are like a spittle. We don't need them. We are removing them. We are against corrupt African leaders. We are against Africans who are puppets. We don't need them. We are against Africans who want to be still be slave under U.S. colonial influence, under NATO colonial influence. We are against those African leaders. We don't need them. If we don't need our own people, our own people who refuse to die to Africans, our own people who refuse to rule for the continent. If we don't need them, how about the slave master? We don't need you. Because you made it clear you will never die for us. You made it clear it is our resources that you need. Henceforth, we don't need you. That's the message in this video. So you can change your AFRICOM all you want. You can change your AFRICOM all you want. Don't depend on corrupt African leader. You will not be saved. This generation of Africans, US, there is no safe haven for you. This generation of African Europe, there is no safe haven for you. The truth of the matter here is, there is no heaven in the sky. Heaven is right on earth here. And hell is right on earth here. Now this generation has come to realize, if you think we are going to those so-called churches and still praying, thinking that there is a heaven in the sky, you damn lie. With this generation, United States, there is no safe haven for you. Europe, there is no safe haven for you. This generation, no safe place for you. Because even the African leader, the corrupt one, there is no safe haven for them. Let's continue here. Now, as you can see their faces, they know that time is running against them. This was when their slave, Michael Leslie, announced to resign from his post. This was when the slave went to the slave master to tell the slave master, I can't make it. I think you yourself have to go in. And it was after this, the slave master decided to go on the African continent, he himself, to whip African. Because African did not allow the slave to whip the slave. So the slave came back and told his master. And now the master decided himself to go to whip African. Because the slave this time did not or was unable to pack another African on the ship to ship them. So the slave came back to the slave master. Now the slave master had decided himself to go and put Africans on a ship to ship them and to whip them and to lynch them and to rape them, because Michael Leslie was unable to lynch or to rape the black men or the black women. So this time now, the slave master decided himself to go to put African on his ship to rape and lynch and kill them. Because this time around, Africa decided we are no longer going to sing Kumbaya, hallelujah, Jesus Christ in the air, Jesus Christ coming to save us, hallelujah. No, we decided this time around there's no Jesus Christ anyway. First of all, his name was not Jesus. The Most High name was not Jesus. So Michael Leslie came by. Now the slave master is going now to say, I'm the Jesus. I'm here to save you. thinking that we will fall for it and then pour back on a slave ship and then rape or lynch or castrate us and then put those who refuse to the demand of the U.S., throw them on board overseas. We are waiting for him to come. We are waiting for him to come.
Members, it's an honor to appear here today representing the outstanding service members, civilians, and families of the United States Africa Command. As I get closer to the end of my tenure of command,
the United States Africa Command Director Marine Corps General Michael Langley has urged the United States government to let African countries, especially the West African states like Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, which are facing destabilization by violent extremist organizations, to fight their own wars, instead of the US military being too much involved in their affairs. While testifying before the United States House Armed Services Committee on the Tuesday of June 10, 2025, the Africa Command Director noted that as his term at the command nears the end, he only has one recommendation on how the US should handle the insecurity situation in the Sahel, or rather West Africa, where US troops have little presence after their exit from Niger. That, going forward, the United States should only find ways to support the respective countries' militaries so that they may gain the necessary capacity to confront the violent extremist organizations with the necessary force required. Since American troops can no longer be deployed to the region as per the Trump administration's policies, and without saying much, take a listen to what he said before the committee members.
Smith, distinguished committee members, it's an honor to appear here today representing the outstanding service members, civilians, and families of the United States Africa Command. As I get closer to the end of my tenure of command, I remain in awe of the character and the capabilities of the men and women willing to serve our nation. Our team of soldiers.
Now, let me say something. I'm glad he said the men and women in uniform to serve to serve their nation. Africa is not your nation. Africa is a continent in a way. So Africa is not your nation. And you already made it clear. You will never die for Africans. You made it clear. United States Marine, United States Navy, United States Army will not die for Africans. Africans will fight for themselves. Africans will fight whether or defeat terrorists or not. They themselves will fight. The fight is Africans. So what are you saying? You respect the men and women who are fighting. You have never fought for Africans. So yes, we respect the men and women who are fighting for American soil. But there is no American Marine or Army or Navy who have ever fought on the African soil for Africans, to die for Africans. If they have been there, they are there to loot. If they have been there, they are there to oppress. If they have been there, they are there to train other people to go remove African leaders who will say no to the US. If they have been there, they are there to feed the terrorists of what some of you two we're going to see here today.
Sailors, Marines, Airmen, Guardian, and civilians perform valiantly, and I'm honored and proud to serve with them. America remains in good hands. I'm proud to testify with my friend General Eric Kurilla, the commander of United States Central Command, and my colleague, Ms. Catherine Thompson from OSD Policy. I'd like to extend my gratitude for their steadfast cooperation. Now, ordinarily, I would be joined by my command senior enlisted leader, Sergeant Major Michael Woods. However, as all of our outstanding NCOs do, Sergeant Major Woods has chosen to put himself in the best position to influence operations. Today, he's in Morocco for the Africa Senior Enlisted Leaders Conference. Now, Morocco is a shining example of a great return on our investment.
So you heard that Morocco is a shining example of their great investment. So if nothing talking about Africans, it always talk about them, their interest, their investment. What investment do they have on the African continent? The African resources is your investment? How you going to go to another man country? You see, who watched this movie? An Aviator, Avaitor, or something like that, right? Where they used the United States Marine and they went to an island filled of resources, and the people that live in our area. But in our movie, they make it seem that the people that live in our area, they were not typical human beings, right? Now, they went in our movie. They went to go loot the people's resources. They did not care for the people. What they did in our movie, they used the United States Marine and they bombed the people. They bombed the people just for the people's resources. And they bombed the place, killed the people, and they looted the people's resources. And they said, they clapped, and they said, victory has been done. After they brought the mineral resources, they diamond, the gold, they stole from the place. They came home, and in a movie, they clapped. Whoa! After they have destroyed the people's land, they have destroyed the people agriculture, they have destroyed the people home culture, food, I mean everything, water body. They destroyed, bombed and looted and killed the people. And they came to clap that they succeed. So that's the interest of the US. So now they go to Morocco, another African continent, or sorry, not continent, another African nation, right? To use that as a base. They say what they use Africos. And now Liberia, they're going to use Liberia too. Liberia have been a puppet nation because Liberia was the nation that was against the Casablanca group. 1963 to unite Africa. Liberia have always stood against unification of Africa. They always pretend. They always have as hypocrite. That's my own nation. But I'm not going to back them because I know my history. I know what I'm saying here. Some of our own people will even be against it. And they will call me names. But I don't blame them. They don't know the histories that I know. They don't do the history that I do. They don't read the history that I read. They don't research the history that I research. So I don't blame them. They can call me names. They can call me what they want to call me. But Liberia have always stood against African independence. And the recent one is the one that is coming. It is true, somehow they have gone to various meetings about other African independence of things. But they have always been there on the soft side. Oh no, even though we are doing this, let's take it slow. Let's take it this way. We can't do it too much a day. Because they always go and speak the language of the white man. They speak the language of the colonizer. That's Liberia. They have always been afraid to take a lead because they think they will not get crumbs from the US. But let's continue.
And their efforts in developing the enlisted corps across the continent is a crucial step in African military professionalism. I recently traveled to Morocco. I attended the African Lion 20 inappropriate resourcing to match military requirements.
All right, I'm going to forward it, right? Because I don't want to listen to the idiots, his whole speech. But anyway, you got the point already. All right. So, like I said, he's been changed, but the mission remains the same. So basically, he's already telling them, I have already laid the groundwork. For example, in Morocco, the groundwork is there. So whosoever coming, make sure and work for the interest of the US. And what will be that interest? Morocco will be used, just how Africa is being used, just how Benin is being used. Morocco will be used as well to support terrorist activities. Those places are the basis of the terrorists. Those places are the places that will be and monitoring the Sahel nation. Monitoring the Sahel nation, those places are the places that will be supporting the terrorists. Don't believe me. We are here to show you evidence today of what just happened. You know what Michael Leslie said? Niger is the epic center for terrorism, he knew what he was saying. And he was exposed, by the way. And those people were caught. So right now, I can tell you, the U.S. is thinking on another strategy. NATO, they are thinking on another strategy. This NGO organization, they are thinking on another strategy because they were working. Actually, these guys were working behind the scene. These guys already have people in Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou. Michael Leslie already have people there. Michael Leslie already have bases in Ouagadougou already. They have already carried ammunition. They have already terrorists in Ouagadougou already prepared. I'm telling you, they were there already prepared. They were just waiting for the day to come. That's what Michael Leslie said Burkina Faso was the epic center. So he knew what he was saying because he knew what he was doing through this NGO. Last week, what did they say? We watched a video, right? From the same Congress again. From the same Congress. They said even the United Nations was also part of the people that are supporting the terrorists. They said NGO have been used because, you know, in Africa, we respect NGO. We don't charge them. We don't search their vehicles. We don't check what they are carrying. So we gave them the leverage to do what they want to do. So they use NGO to carry this arm and ammunition in Ouagadougou to the terrorists on these bases. We're going to show them here today. That is why no NGO should be in Africa. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you, look, it is hard to do, even as much as we don't want to, but that's the best thing. Even as much as we didn't want to remove or to take out these foreign troops, and we did in some African nations, we have to do the same thing with this NGO. These NGOs, they are no different from terrorists. These NGOs are no different from Boko Haram. These NGOs are no different from ISIS. These NGOs are no different from Al Qaeda. These NGOs are no different from Al-Shabaab. These NGOs, believe me or not, these NGOs are no different. But I'm going to forward this. I don't want to listen to this idiot entire speech, this slave, right? Now, I'm going to forward it. Now, you've already seen it. I'm going to forward it to the question they was asking him. Like I said, we shouldn't, just because he has been changed, that doesn't mean the mission of AFRICOM is different. You remember when Hillary Clinton, after they killed Gaddafi, Hillary Clinton said, 30 good years. 30 good years. 30 good years. We've been in search to bring this idiot down. 30 good years we've been behind Gaddafi to bring him down. So they took 30 years to bring Gaddafi down. 30 years through a black man called Obama. So we shouldn't get it twisted. We shouldn't get it twisted. They are not here for peace for African. They don't want peace on the African continent. Don't get it twisted. Let's continue here.
Through these activities, our technology and integrated and encouragement. And I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. General Langley here now recognizes himself for questions.
General Langley, there's a lot of concerning aspects to Africa, but West Africa right now seems to be the most concerning. I mean, it's the most capable terrorist organization is, gaining influence in multiple countries and threatening others. We don't have much of a presence there. What would be your recommendation?
Look, you see what I hate about these people? I'm going to use the word hate. These people are so hypocrite. Now, if you don't get it, you would think they are speaking for you. The question here is, why will Washington, D.C. be so concerned about terrorist activities on the African continent, but in the same time want to assassinate the same men or the same people who are fighting terrorists, who are fighting to eliminate terrorists? Why would you want to fight or eliminate the man who is fighting to eliminate terrorists? And at the same time, you say you are concerned about African people because terrorists is increasing. But you want to unalive the man who is fighting terrorists. I mean, make it make sense. You want to kill Abraham Traore, who is fighting terrorists. But at the same time, you say you are concerned about increasing the increases of terrorists on the African continent. But at the same time, you want to kill the man who is fighting terrorists. You do not want to support the man who is fighting terrorists. Make it make sense. Make it make sense to us. Yes, Washington, D.C., make it make sense. You don't want Abraham Traore. You want to kill him. You deframe him as a dictator. You deframe him as a man who is using his resources to protect his military junta. You deframe this man for Africans to hate him. But when Africans are seeing this is the man that is standing out for Africans, this is the man that is want to defeat terrorists and make Africa a free zone. But at the same time coming back, telling us you are so concerned about terrorism on the African continent. This, in real, tell us you are the one supporting the terrorists. Let's continue here.
In terms of how we contain that threat that is growing out of West Africa.
Ranking member, I would say, since we moved out of Niger, we had to reset our CT strategy, and that's further engagement.
So you heard it. Since we moved out of Niger, we have to reset our strategy, or we have to strategize on what to do again. So you heard it. He's been replaced, but the mission remains the same. When the slave master go in, the slave master is a script. It's a script that is already there. The slave master is going to go by the same script. Now, his language, the slave master language, may not be the same as this slave. The slave master language or his approach may not be the same as the approach of the slave, because they have understand that Africans have come to realize their aim, what they want for Africa and how they want for the African and African continent to be. So his approach might be different, right? But the goal remains the same. His language might be different. The goal remains the same. His body language might be different, but the goal remains the same. His elaboration to Congress might be different, but the goal remains the same. Then when they strategize on what to do for their presence to remain in Africa, to continue to subjugate Africans, that is the established basis, key area. Now we have Morocco. Morocco, I thought they were on the side of the AES when this whole thing started before. But you see, we always betray each other. The white men will never betray each other in favor of the black men. It will never happen. It have never happened in history, and it will never happen.
Especially with the coastal West Africa countries who are building capabilities and capacities to deter. And a number of countries is working, but JNM, which is and AQIM, and also ISIS Sahel are really starting to get their footing and affect themselves across the AES countries of Niger, Mali, and.
All right, I'm going to take this out. But before I take this out, right, he made a very key point. Access are beginning to step. They are 14 in the AES nation. So why only in the AES nations? Why? There's a clear indication that the US, NATO, they are the ones sponsoring these terrorists. Why only in the AES nation that the terrorists are solely focusing or are solely based? But let's get in mind, you remember Eric Sponsor. Eric Sponsor had his military group, private military, and the United States paid in It's the same way Access looking. These Access, they are contractor. These are contractor. The same way Eric Spencer have his army, Blackwater. I don't even know why he named it Black. Anyway, but he have a Blackwater, and the United States contracted them. They went to the Middle East. That's the same way Access, Al Qaeda, Boko Haram. They are private contractor. These guys are paid. These guys are paid. So the US, NATO, they got so pissed up and they paid these people to destabilize the AES. That is what Walter Rooney said. A liberator zone will always be under constant threat by imperialist forces, whether directly or indirectly. Yes, Walter Rooney told us in this book, whether directly or indirectly, the imperialist forces. A liberator zone will always be under constant threat by the imperialist forces, whether directly or indirectly. So you heard what he said. He narrowed it down specifically in West Africa, but in part of West Africa, the AES nation. So that means, now, did you see? I know some of you will say, oh, it's Trump. It's not Trump. Trump was never in power when African nations decided to shift. They say, oh, that they put travel ban, or they put that place not safe. It was not Trump. Trump was not in power. Joe Biden did the same thing. Barack Obama did the same thing. Joe Biden did the same thing. You see it? So currently, Ghana is now on a list, okay, of country not to travel to, of country that is being banned, because not because of the president, but because of the youth, the Ghanaian youth, because they have seen that the people of Ghana don't want crumbs. They are saying that the people of Ghana have sent message to their president. We don't want crumbs. We don't want crumbs. We have the resources. If we ourselves will use our bare hand to build our country, we will. We do not want crumbs. So that means do not go to the IMF. Do not go to the World Bank. Do not go to the US. We can do it on our own here. And there was a message sent to the Ghanaian president. We will protect you. If you say no to the US, we will protect you. If you say no to UK or EU, because we know what will be coming, we will protect you the same way we standing for Abraham Traore. So you know what the US did? They put Ghana among the country to ban. They put Ghana among the country to punish. I thought yesterday when Nana Akufo was there, these people say Ghana was this, Ghana was that. But all of a sudden, Nana Akufo just left a few months ago. Now, Ghana is a place you can't travel, you can't do business, you can't do this. So don't get it twisted. Very soon, they will be telling you Ghana is among the epic terrorist list. Very soon. So it shouldn't be strange to us, African. We shouldn't tremble. We shouldn't be afraid. After us was Kwame Nkrumah a terrorist, but they call him terrorist. So why should we be afraid if these people come with their narrative? When Nelson Mandela a terrorist, but they say he was a terrorist. Was Dr. King a terrorist? They say he was a terrorist. Was Malcolm X an extremist? They say he was an extremist. So why should we be afraid? Why should we tremble when they ban any African nation? That is a victory for us. That means it is a victory for us. Okay, I think, hold on. What I'm seeing here, hold on. Okay, all right. I was about to retweet it, so let's go back. Now, after reading that, right, let's see something here. So, Michael Leslie, the West, Washington, D.C., they knew exactly what they were doing or what they are doing. They knew exactly when Michael Leslie said Burkina Faso was an epic center for terrorism, right? They knew what I was talking about. But listen to this. With the help of Russia intelligence, with the help of China intelligence, with the help of North Korea intelligence, these people were caught. And you're going to see what happened. Let's watch this. That is why, look, the African continent, the African nation, get away with AFRICOM. Please, we beg you. There should be no foreign military bases on the African continent. Now, on May 27, 2025, security report from Burkina Faso disclosed that a convoy of 47 long vehicles disguised, listen to this, disguised as carrying humanitarian aid. That's why I love the AES. These are the reasons the United States does not love the AES. Because even NGO, we don't trust them. We will search them. We will naked them and see what is in it. On May 27, 2025, security report from Burkina Faso disclosed that a convoy of 47 long vehicles disguised as carrying humanitarian aid was intercepted at a border between Togo and Burkina Faso. Where were they coming from? Were they coming from Togo? Were they coming from Benin? Were they coming from Ivory Coast? Or were they coming from Morocco? Don't forget, these are the people that are holding these foreign troops or foreign or entity to destabilize the African continent. Don't forget. Let's continue here. Item on intelligence report: Burkina Faso brave and undaunted president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, described the movement of the 47 vehicles at night. They were moving in the night, at night, as outnumbered, and entrusted his security chiefs to take actions. Let's continue. Accordingly, the security led siege and grounded the 47 vehicles at a strategic point near the border. A search revealed several tons of derelict ammunition. Humanitarian, though, these are humanitarian trucks. Are you listening, folks? This is a humanitarian trucks. Are you listening? Humanitarian trucks carrying deadly ammunition, deadly weapon. You heard Michael Leslie telling us Burkina Faso is the epicenter of terrorism. You heard it, right? This is a humanitarian trucks. And last week, we heard them saying NGO are part of the terrorist activities on the African continent. NGOs feed terrorists. Last week, we brought an article. You saw the Red Cross when Mali accuses, I think, no, Mali or Niger, accuses the Red Cross of supporting terrorists. And you heard the Red Cross saying they are neutral, they are on both sides, they are there to treat any wounded soldiers. That was a statement of the Red Cross. They are there neutral, they are on both sides. How can you be there for the enemies and then you say you're on both sides? That was the statement of the Red Cross. So if they are on both sides, that means Red Cross as well carry vehicles full of ammunition. These were NGO organizations, humanitarian, carrying food, right? Listen to this. Accordingly, the security laid siege and grounded the 47 vehicle at a strategic point near the border. A search revealed several tons of deadly ammunition, but which were loaded in humanitarian aid vehicles. You see that? Let's continue here. Let's continue. The weapon were reported to compromise. The weapon were reported to comprise 15,000 AK-47. Listen to this. In our vehicle, there were AK-47, about 15,000 of them in our vehicle. 15,000 and then of AK-47 right in our vehicle. 5,000 MI-16 rifle. 5,000 MI-16 rifle. These are humanitarian trucks. They carry. So are you telling me, are you carrying this ammunition to civilian? Civilian going to eat these things? Are these things food? Well, let's continue here. 5,000 MI-16 rifle. 3 million bullet. 3 million bullet. 3 million bullet. 50,000 hands grenades. 50,000 hands grenades. 15,000 rocket launches. And 200 anti-aircraft missiles. And 20 tons of explosives estimated at 100 million. 100 million. There's a humanitarian truck. No food in it. Carrying it to Ouagadougou. So they have, so Michael Leslie knew already. They have strategic area bases already in Ouagadougou. And this truck, it is also reported that they have people in it who were already trained. So they were just carrying it to this location. And then once some money, they were just going to Ouagadougou and they come from all angles. Boom, 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 kill and destroy the place. Overthrow Abraham Touare. Abraham Touare is dead and gone. And then they replace the government. And then they say it is terrorist activities. But you see NGO carrying these weapons to the terrorists. Let's continue. An examination of the weapons revealed that, an examination of the weapon revealed that some of them had been used in the war in Yemen. Some of them have been used in the war in Yemen, Syria, and Libya. These are American weapons. These are NATO weapons. Some of them were used in Yemen, Syria, and Libya, while the rest were brand new. Security detail revealed that all drivers of the vehicles were arrested after a hot chase. Let's continue. Let's continue. Michael Leslie have been exposed. Now, during the interrogation, they disclosed, the people, the drivers, they disclosed that they have been contracted. So these drivers were contracted to just carry the vehicles. They paid them, hey, just drive and go deliver it, just drop the vehicles, and you find your way out. So these are NGO organizations, right? Humanitarian aid. Just drive it. They're not going to search you. Just drive it at the location, drop it off, and you leave. You find your way. You go by your business. So you see that during the interrogation, they disclosed that they had been contracted to drive the vehicles without knowing the actual contents of they were carrying. According to them, they departed Togo. You heard it. They left Togo. We know Togo, Farouk, is an ally of Washington, D.C. Is an ally of Europe, to be specific, England as well, France. We know them. So you see where the vehicle came from. You see where they loaded these vehicles. They departed. So this is what Michael Leslie has been doing. That's why he said we have Morocco who will be there to support strategic American interests. Strategic American operations. You heard Michael Leslie saying. Michael Leslie, the slave is gone, but the slave master will come back and the mission of AFRICOM remain the same. It never changed. Listen to this. According to them, they departed Togo at different time. So the trucks them that was leaving, the NGO, right? They left Togo at different time. They did not leave in convoy. They left at different times. So for example, the other truck left maybe 1 hour, 2 hours ago because they can't be behind each other. They will notice something that, where are all these long trucks going? What are they carrying? They will be noticed, right? So one truck left, like, let's just say 4 hours ago, then the next truck followed. Or let's say the other truck left 2 hours ago, then the next truck followed, because they can't go in comfort. They will notice them. So you see, they departed Togo at different time, using different route. You heard it, you see it? Using different route, different road and coverage. At a point, and attempted to enter Burkina Faso. You see what Michael Leslie said? Burkina Faso is the epicenter of terrorism. These people know exactly what they are doing. America does not mean any good for Africa. How can you say you are fighting for Africans, you want to liberate Africans, but you are the one there planting these terrorists and supporting them, and you are so concerned about Africans? Let's continue here. It's deeper than this. Let's continue here. We'll expose them. Burkina Faso security explained that once they entered the Burkina Faso, their weapons were to be deposited at several private warehouses. So you see, Michael Leslie already knew in Ouagadougou, they already have places, private warehouse, where to deposit these weapons. You see, Michael Leslie, that's why he said Burkina Faso is the epicenter for terrorism. So you see, Michael Leslie already knew where to deposit this weapon. So according to the driver, this is what the driver said now. The Burkina Faso security explained that once they enter the Burkina Faso, the weapons were to be deposited at several private warehouses in Ouagadougou to be distributed to the rebel. So now you see how the Axis, the terrorists, the Al-Qaeda, the Al-Shabaab get these weapons. You see it? How they get these weapons? Through these NGO. So these NGO take the weapons to the warehouse, to the headquarters of the warehouse. Then now they distribute it from the warehouse now into various vehicles to the Taliban, to the Boko Haram, to the Axis. Do you see how these Westerners have been operating in Africa? Do you see how Michael Leslie have distributed these things along with the NGOs? Do you see what Michael Leslie said? Burkina Faso is a center for epic terrorism. Now you see, it's deeper than this. Let's continue. To be distributed from the warehouse in Ouagadougou, to be distributed to the rebels, structured in the eastern border with the Ivory Coast. You see it. Ivory Coast is where these terrorists are. So you see, to the bonus there, you see it? Let's continue. The security report further revealed that, acting on the instruction of Captain Abraham Traore, the kings of kings, several warehouses were searched in Ouagadougou, where tons of ammunition had already been stockpiled. So Michael Langley have already stocked more weapons in Ouagadougou through AFRICOM Command, through NGOs. Michael Langley have already stocked more weapons. So after Abraham Traore, after they have investigated those drivers, and those drivers told them they were dropping it to these warehouse of these NGOs, that's how Abraham Traore instructed his men to map every NGO warehouse. And when they did that, to their surprise, they saw tons of weapons of ammunition in this warehouse, in this NGO warehouse, stuck in there, supplying the terrorists. You see Michael Leslie? And these things were done by the help of Russian intelligence, China intelligence, and North Korea intelligence. So these are the people that are fighting alongside with Africans to fight terrorists. So now to America, let me ask you this question. Whose side should African people be on? Your side or the other side that you deem as the enemies? No, we will be on the side of the people that you deem as enemies. Because had it not been for them, Burkina Faso, as you have planned, will be destroyed. Whose side you want us to be on? Let's continue. Surprisingly, the owner of the warehouse were a former military general. So you see, these NGO are working with opposition, so to speak. Now you see in Burkina Faso, you see some of these churches. Look, if I am a president of any African nation, I swear to God, there will be no practice of religion. I swear to God, the Most High, to my forefather, there will be no practice of any religion, because I know what religion have caused to the African continent and to the African nation. Today, in Burkina Faso, these NGO are now manipulating the Christian to say, oh, Abraham Traore is a Muslim. Abraham Traore does not practice democracy. In fact, Abraham Traore should step down. The Christian nation, the Christianity, one of the demonic and inhumane religion in the world is Christianity. You think it's Muslim? No. Christianity has done the West. Oh, it was Christianity that started slavery. The slave ship that took African from Africa was called Jesus. And the other ship too was called Elizabeth. Instead of them naming it Mary, they called it Elizabeth. They should have just named it Mary instead of naming it Elizabeth. It could be good. Jesus, Mary. The slave ship. And it was Christianity, through Christianity, millions of Africans died, was slaughtered and threw on sea. It was through Christianity, millions of Congolese hair were chopped off, foot were chopped up. It was through Christianity, millions of African women were raped and lynched. It was through Christianity, millions of Africans were barbecued. It was through Christianity, millions of African babies were being fed to alligator. It was through Christianity, millions of Africans were being lynched and hanged to die. Let's continue here. It is clear that foreign and local forces are still bent on launching full-scale war on Burkina Faso, either through a coup or to fuel the ongoing insurgency. And I bring out this book again. Walter Rennie told us a liberator zone will be on a constant threat, whether directly or indirectly, right? So indirectly, listen to this. Surprisingly, indirectly, the owner of the warehouse were former military. The owner of the warehouse were former military general and top businessmen in Burkina Faso. Indirectly or directly, a liberator zone will be on a constant threat. So indirectly, the owner of the warehouse were former military, general, and top businessmen in Burkina Faso. So they are working with this military men to destabilize Burkina Faso and then put him there as a puppet government. You see what's going on? It is clear that foreign and local forces are still bent on launching full-scale war on Burkina Faso, either through a coup to fuel the ongoing insurgency. The question is, why would individual and interest group in Burkina Faso become accomplice to the grand plan of Western powers over throwing Captain His Excellency, the Kings of Kings, Abraham Traoré, and honor the sovereignty of their own country? Why? Another question is asked. Why are France and the United States so bent on dominating and destroying a small and poor country like Burkina Faso? Why? That's a question to them.
Welcome back to Brand New Africa, the unapologetically Pan-African voice for Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. Before we begin, a quick request. If you enjoy our bold, independent reporting, please consider subscribing. It really helps us grow, and we'll continue bringing you the stories that matter most. Disclaimer: this broadcast is for educational and informational purposes only. All commentary is grounded in publicly available sources and public discourse. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking. All right, now listen to this madness. 47 trucks. Yes, 47 were just caught trying to enter Burkina Faso, loaded with weapons, while pretending to be carrying humanitarian aid. You heard me right, not food, not medicine, not blankets, but grenades, night vision goggles, and who knows what else. And who intercepted them? Captain Ibrahim Traoré's forces at the border. Imagine the shock when they opened those boxes labeled medical supplies and found tools of war instead. Now pause for a second. How bold do you have to be to try that? You're not sneaking in 1 or 2 vans. You're sending a convoy of 47 trucks. That kind of confidence doesn't come from nowhere. It means either someone inside Burkina Faso was waiting for the delivery, or this whole operation had backing from powerful outsiders. When asked for their documents, the drivers handed over fake papers. But there were inconsistencies, and that's what gave them away. Once the search started, the truth came spilling out. Now here's the real question. Who is behind this? And more importantly, who is supposed to receive those weapons on the other side? Because someone was. That's too many trucks to just wing it. And if you've been paying attention, you already know that foreign meddling in West Africa is not some wild conspiracy. It's been happening for decades. Destabilize the region, fuel conflict, then swoop in acting like heroes. It's a playbook we've seen before, and people are waking up to it. To be clear, an investigation is already underway in Burkina Faso. But the people are asking, is there someone inside the system working against us? And even worse, was this just one failed shipment among many that got through? It's a heavy moment, but also a necessary one, because now the masks are slipping, the lies aren't working, and the era of blind trust in aid and NGOs is ending. Let us know what you think in the comments. Who's behind this? What's the real endgame? This has been Brand New Africa, the unapologetically Pan-African voice for Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. Stay informed, stay united, and remember, when we control our narrative, we control our future.
What's up, Brand New Africa fam? If today's report opened your eyes, smash that like button. Drop your hottest takes in the comments. We want to hear your voice. And hey, if you haven't joined our tribe yet, hit subscribe to Brand New Africa and tap that bell so you never miss a moment of our Pan-African truth bombs. Share this video with everyone you know. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions push our movement forward.
Okay. So that is what just happened in Burkina Faso, right? So these are the work of Michael Lansley. These are the work of AFRICOM. These are the work of these so-called NGOs. They were really, really planning and preparing for Burkina Faso. We have to be strong. The truth is, this is why we don't trust the US no more. Like I've been saying here, we will never ever trust the US again. Never. We will never ever trust NATO again, because Hillary Clinton told us we should never trust the US. Because if it's going to take 40 years or 30 years to get Gaddafi, Hillary Clinton told us we should never ever trust the West. Because if it's going to take 50 years to get you, they will get you. So we should not trust them, because it took them 30 years. And then Gaddafi trusted them. When he saw Obama, he thought it was his brother. And they passed through Obama, they got him. So Hillary Clinton told us we should never ever trust them. No more in history. We should never trust them, because they are not to be trusted. They are betrayal. That's what Hillary Clinton said. They are betrayal. We should not trust them. So you see what they're doing here. Hillary Clinton told us we should be careful with the West. When they are coming with banana in one hand, they got weapons in the other hands. When they are coming with food in one hand, they have weapons in the other hand. When they are coming with dollars in one hand, they got weapons, grenades, ammunition in the other hands. That's what Hillary Clinton told us. It took them 30 years to get Gaddafi. That we should not trust them. They are never to be trusted. Why would anyone want to kill Abraham Traore? Why would France, US, NATO want to kill Traore? Anyone will understand the reason why they want to kill them, because they may have the same vision as Gaddafi. They may have the same vision as Nkrumah. They may have the same vision as Thomas Sankara. They may have the same vision as Patrice Lumumba. They may have the same vision as Amilcar Cabral, Steve Biko. These men have the same vision. And people that want to kill Abraham Traore, they are our enemies. People that want to destroy Burkina Faso, they are African enemies. These are some of the reasons They want to kill Abraham Traore because he's using the resources wisely. He's not telling America, hey, come and loot the resources. Hey, France, come and take it. Hey, England. Hey, Germany. Hey, Canada. Hey, come and take it. We don't need it. Just give me something. That's why they want to kill him.
That rival the best Western models. The Western aviation sector is in turmoil. Confidential sources have confirmed that several leading European and American manufacturers have discreetly contacted the Burkinabe government to initiate talks for licensing or partnership. But insiders insist Traore remains.
So what you're seeing here, right? That's a plane that was made in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso own airline, assembled by Burkina Faso in Burkina Faso. When this happened, and this happened through the resources of Burkina Faso. This happened through the resources of Burkina Faso. Now, with collaboration with Russia engineer, Chinese engineer, and North Korea engineer, training Africans, Burkinabe engineer, and with the resources, the capital of Burkina Faso, to manufacture their own plane. When this happened, then the U.S. went in to talk to Burkina Faso for them to step in. And Abraham Traore said no. These are some of the reasons they are against this man to get him out, to kill him. These are some of the reasons the United States want to waste African blood. Because Africans are finding different partners. Partner they feel this deal is good, this negotiation is good. China will now go to honor life Abraham Traore if Abraham Traore say no. China will now go to sponsor terrorists. China will now go to sponsor NGOs to carry ammunition to distribute it to various White House to give it to the terrorists. Now North Korea will do that, they have no interest. Now Russia will do that, they have no interest. But US, NATO, they have interest in doing that. Then which side should we be on? Which side should we be on? You've been looting, exploiting the people's resources. Have you ever wanted to talk about manufacturing plane, building plane? Since you've been looting the resources in Liberia, have you ever wanted to talk about building bridges, building roads, building cars, or even opening factory in Liberia to build cars, or even opening plane in Liberia to train Liberians? You killed Doe for it. You killed Tobo for it. When they had these planes, you killed them. You assassinated them.
Remains resolute. He is not eager to hand over this breakthrough. This is not a bargaining chip. It is a declaration. In his bold and moving speech, President Traore declared, "For too long, we watched others fly. Today, we rise on wings of our own, built with African minds, African hands, and African hearts. This is not only for Burkina Faso. This is for every African nation." The event has become a symbol of continental pride and self-reliance. Across social media platforms, videos of the aircraft's takeoff are gaining millions of views. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are ablaze with celebration. Supporters have called it Africa's Wright brothers moment, a turning point that cannot...
Any day. In Ouagadougou, the air buzzed. Thousands gathered, their faces bright. Hope shone in every single eye. They came to witness history unfold. Africa's first homegrown advanced aircraft was ready. Burkina Faso was about to show the world. A continent's dream was taking to the skies. The excitement was truly electric. You could feel it. Cheers erupted. Flags waved with pride. This was more than a machine. It was a statement, a bold one. Engineered, assembled, and tested right there, on African soil, by African minds. Tears of joy streamed down many faces. This moment belonged to them, all of them. This was a spectacle of pure national pride, a testament to what Burkina Faso could achieve. The nation, under President Ibrahim Traore, stood tall. They had dared to dream big, very big. And now, that dream had wings. It was a powerful message to their own people. It was a beacon for the entire continent. Africa was rising quite literally. The significance stretched far beyond borders. It was a spark, a glorious bright spark, igniting imaginations across Africa. From the Sahel to the Cape, people watched. They saw possibility. They saw strength. This launch was a profound declaration. Africa was stepping into its own power. The sky was no longer the limit. Let's talk about this incredible machine. It's not just any airplane, you see. This is an advanced piece of technology, a true marvel of modern engineering. Its design is sleek, aerodynamic, built for performance, built to impress. It whispers of speed and of grace, a testament to skill and dedication. Underneath its polished skin, power hums. High-performance engines, state-of-the-art, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It boasts cutting-edge navigation systems, guided by artificial intelligence, no less. This isn't just catching up, this is about leading the way. Africa is innovating right now. The materials used are revolutionary, ultra-light, yet incredibly durable, crafted to withstand the toughest conditions. This aeroplane is built to last. It has long-range fuel systems, meaning it can go further, connect more. It's a bridge across the vast African skies, connecting dreams and distant lands. Comparisons are already being made. How does it stack up against Western models? Reports suggest it rivals them. In some ways, it even outmatches them. This isn't about imitation. It is about genuine innovation. Africa is not just building aeroplanes, it is building a new future for itself. The story behind this marvel is fascinating. It was developed in complete secrecy. Imagine the dedication, the quiet focus, away from the world's prying eyes. Western intelligence agencies were unaware. They did not see this coming at all. President Traoré had a clear instruction. Let them find out when it's in the sky. A small, hand-picked team made it happen. Burkinabe engineers led the charge. Their brilliance shone brightly. They were joined by Moscow-trained experts. Iranian aviation specialists brought their skills. North Korean metallurgists contributed too. A diverse group, a united purpose, a covert triangle of resistance, some called it. And what about the money, the funding? This is perhaps the most inspiring part. No loans from the IMF, no World Bank deals. This project was funded by Africa for Africa. Redirected gold revenues paid for it. The continent's own wealth reinvested. A powerful statement of economic sovereignty. Proof that Africa can finance its own rise. This indigenous funding is truly key. It speaks volumes about self-reliance. It shows a new way forward, a path away from external dependencies. Africa's resources, benefiting Africans first. This wasn't just about building an airplane. It was about building economic freedom, a powerful lesson for the entire world. President Ibrahim Traoré stood before his people. His words resonated with power and hope. For too long, we've stared at the sky, while others flew, he declared. Today, we take off with our own minds, our own hands, and our own wings. This was more than a speech. It was a promise to a continent. He made it clear this was for everyone. This is not just for Burkina Faso, it's for every corner of Africa. His vision is Pan-African, inclusive. He spoke of a new beginning, a shared destiny. Then came the powerful line, Africa will fly, with or without you. A message to the world. Africa is moving forward. To the youth, his message was direct. You're not too poor to build. You're too powerful to stay small. Inspiring a generation to dream bigger, to believe in their own capabilities. He painted a future where Africans lead. We are no longer passengers, he stated. We are the pilots of our future. These words are more than just rhetoric. They reflect a deep commitment, a commitment to African self-reliance, a belief in African innovation. President Traoré is not just a leader. He is a symbol of this new spirit, a spirit of defiance and determination. Africa is listening and Africa is acting. Echoes across the globe, astonishment and acclaim. The launch sent shockwaves around the world. In Paris and Washington, D.C., analysts were stunned. How did this happen so quietly? Aviation giants like Boeing and Airbus? They reportedly held emergency meetings. Suddenly they are seeking partnerships, perhaps even licensing rights. how tables turn. A leaked French military report called it a strategic rupture. Across Africa, the reaction was pure joy. Footage of the launch went viral. Instantly, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all buzzing. It was dubbed Africa's Wright brothers moment. A powerful comparison, a fitting one too. Celebrations erupted in many nations. Students in Ghana waved Burkinabe flags. In Mali, crowds chanted President Traore's name. South African politicians praised the achievement. They called it the boldest act of technological independence since the end of colonial rule, they added. This resonates deeply across the continent, a feeling of shared victory, of collective pride. This wasn't just Burkina Faso's success. It felt like Africa's success, united. A new chapter was being written. Of course, there was speculation too. Whispers about Chinese or Russian help, perhaps quiet funding or expertise. President Traore is known for building alliances, but the core message remained clear. This was an African achievement, driven by African vision and resources. The world was forced to sit up and take notice. More than just an airplane, a symbol of a new era. This advanced aircraft is more than metal, it's more than engines and electronics. It is a powerful flying symbol, a symbol of African self-determination. It speaks of identity, of dignity reclaimed. It roars with technological prowess. Africa is saying loud and clear, we no longer ask for permission. This achievement challenges old narratives, narratives of dependence, of limitation. It signals a shift in global dynamics, perhaps the emergence of a new center of gravity. The West has been put on notice. The continent is forging its own path with its own tools, on its own terms. This is what true independence looks like. The launch is a beacon of hope. It shows what is possible with vision, with determination, with unity. It could become a model for other African nations, a blueprint for leveraging natural resources, for indigenous development, for progress. Imagine the possibilities if this spirit spreads. A continent empowered from within. This is about African pride, yes, but it's also about practical change. It's about building industries, creating jobs, inspiring young people to study science, to become engineers.
All right, because of time, I gotta take it out. We have few videos to show. So these are the things that are making it angry. And another thing that making it angry, we have come to realize who they are. And because we know who they are, we are not going to go back in time. And there's no way they can come to convince us. That's why I'm making it angry. We are not even here for them to come and tell we apologize. We don't even need an apology. We don't need it. We don't need an apology from anyone.
Strategic autonomy is the buzzword in Brussels today. And strategic autonomy presupposes that the EU has an external sort of freedom of action. And going to West Africa and Sahel and countries kicking out Europeans, mainly the French now, it's precisely that the Europeans are not mature enough to see or to acknowledge that sovereignty could be on the African side. So they cannot accept that anything could come from within African states themselves, from movements and so on. It has to be something from outside, just like in the 50s, the Bandung movement will influence Africa in the wrong way. And right now it's Russia or China and so on, because there's nothing really, Africa is hollow in the political sense still for the European mindset.
All right, because of time, I'm not going to play the whole video. But, I mean, you heard what he just said, right? These are the things that are making them angry. Because they have realized that since the 1600 or since 1419, if we can carry, or 1619, if we can carry back there, right? Up to, let's say, 2025, they have controlled Africa. They have bled Africa. They have looted Africa. They have wounded Africa in every possible way that they can. They never imagined one day that it was going to get to this point, because their forefather told them, you guys should make sure Africa and her descendants, they should never ever rise. Because the day they rise, that day, your demise starts. So they can get over what is going on, because to them it came too soon. So you see, when a European, when US, when they're talking about peace, make sure war is in their heart. They're not talking about peace. When they're talking about war, make sure peace is on the other side. Peace is what there. So now they are talking about war. That is our peace, as you can see right now. So today is their war, because it is their demise. So you see what's going on. So this is why they can't get over it. This is why they so hate the AES, Abraham Traore, Tiani, Nkeita, right? And right now, we can see the Botswana president. We can see the Namibian president. We can see that they hate those people. They hate those people because of the stand, the move those people are taking. And very soon, we see in Chad, they will be hating Chad very soon. They will be saying very soon, Chad is an epicenter of terrorism. Very soon, we'll be talking about Namibia is an epicenter of terrorism. Very soon, we'll be talking about Botswana is an epicenter of terrorism. Very soon. Very soon, we might be seeing them talking about Ghana is an epicenter of terrorism. Very soon. Very soon. But the truth is, we care less to do with that, because we are not shaking again. We are not wavering again.
Europe believe about their history is not history at all. It's mythology designed to produce a specific kind of person. A person who does not feel guilty. A person who does not feel accountable. A person who does not feel responsible for ever changing anything because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're taught that their ancestors were pioneers. Their ancestors were explorers and builders of civilization. That they've brought progress and democracy and enlightenment to the world. They hear about the Renaissance. They hear about the Industrial Revolution. They hear about the Age of Discovery, and so forth and so on. And not about enslavement, not about genocide, not about the theft, not about the destruction that their people are responsible for. They're not taught that their prosperity was built on unimaginable suffering. They're not taught that their systems of government, their financial empires, their very sense of national identity are all rooted in exploitation. They don't know about the crimes. They don't know the real legacy of their people. And so they don't change. They don't have to change because they don't even realize what they need to correct. Most white people in America and Europe believe about their history is not history at all. It's mythology designed to produce a specific kind of person. A person who does not feel guilty. A person who does not feel accountable. A person who does not feel responsible for ever changing anything because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're taught that their ancestors were pioneers. Their ancestors were explorers and builders of civilization. That they've brought progress and democracy and enlightenment to the world. They hear about the Renaissance. They hear about the Industrial Revolution. They hear about the Age of Discovery, and so forth and so on. And not about enslavement, not about genocide, not about the theft, not about the destruction that their people are responsible for. They're not taught that their prosperity was built on unimaginable suffering. They're not taught that their systems of government, their financial empires, their very sense of national identity are all rooted in exploitation. They don't know about the crimes.
Yes, their civilization are rooted in exploitation, in killing, mass murder, mass destruction, bumping, looting, castration, raping, feeding babies to alligator, inhumanity, proxy war. That is the Western civilization they always take to the African continent or to Black nation. That is their civilization. Their civilization is destructive. Their civilization is chaos. Their civilization is inhumane. It's unfriendly. And that is why they can't get over it, because we have come to realize it and they know it. So to them, it came too soon. But no, it did not come too soon. From the 1600, from the 1400, all the way to 2025, it did not come soon. You have more time. But the truth is, you thought it was never going to come.
Ubuntu means white people cannot have Ubuntu. And that means white people are not human.
That is correct. White people cannot have Ubuntu. And that's not our fault. That's your fault. White people lost their humanity a long time ago. Long before we ever started singing Kill the Boer. Long before they ever set foot on African soil. Do you know what white people were busy doing in Europe? They were killing each other. And this lasted for hundreds of years. Go read up on European history. It's just war after war after war. They only stopped killing each other when they found us. But that was temporary, because after they were done colonizing us, they started World War I and World War II. They just couldn't resist the urge to kill and destroy. It's part of their heritage. It's their white supremacist culture. They came to Africa with empty hearts and greedy hands. And because our ancestors were guided by Ubuntu, we welcomed these strangers into our home. Our ancestors didn't know they were inviting the devil into their lives. Our people showed them kindness. We gave them food, shelter, respect. And what did we get in return? Chains, whips, guns, rape, and genocide. Then they wonder why we see them as non-human. No human being would do what they did to another human being. Only a demon could do what white people did to us. Only the devil himself would look into the eyes of a black child and see a slave.
Ubuntu.
Yes, so just to add to it, you can't blame us, all right, for the actions we are taking today. You can't blame us if we say we don't trust the US or we don't trust Europe or we don't trust the West. You can't blame us. And you can't blame us if we say Ubuntu. White can never be. Because you know what? When we practice it, when you came, we took it in. We show you the culture for us to blend in. For you to blend in. For you to be part of that Ubuntu. You neglected it. You betray us. You enslave us. You kill us. You came back. You colonize us. You came back. You kill our leaders. You came back. You loot our resources. You came back. You manipulated us through various means of influence. You came back. You said we were nothing. You came back. You said we can't even be part of your organization. Imagine, you came and we invited you, made you to be part of our entity, our culture, our way of life. But you form your own organization because your organization is solely based on exploitation. You refuse for us to be part of your organization. And you say, if African be part of your organization will be meaningless. Your organization will be useless, which is the so-called UN. So you see, why we say you can't be part of Ubuntu? Because Ubuntu, it means unity. It means identity. It means you can't betray your brother. It means sisterhood. It means brotherhood. You see it? It means borderless. It means unconditional love. Yeah. But you came and manipulated it and changed that around. And we start hating each other. And now we realize it, that you are the devil the Bible speak of.
Forget that Africa is the victim of two colossal and compounded injustices. First, the profound impact of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. The roots stretch back centuries, and the bitter fruit continues to affect Africans and people of African descent to this day. Decolonization alone in itself was not a panacea. Political independence did not free countries from structures based on exploitation and decades of economic, social, and institutional underinvestment. It is high time for reparatory justice frameworks to be put in place. The world must never forget that Africa is the victim.
Again, all these videos I'm playing, it is a reminder that why we think the way we are thinking. All right? And you see all these messages, it's not even coming from us. It's even coming from you. Look at this man. Again, you see what he said? Everything that Africa is going through, it is because of the US, it is because of Europe. Okay? All the victimization that we are experiencing today, it is because of the US, it is because of Europe. It is not because of China, it is not because of Russia, it is not because of North Korea. Matter of fact, let's see this. Let's see this here again. Let's see something here.
A lot of Westerners see many African people siding with Russia and think that Africans have been propagandized to think that evil Russia is good. But in reality, it is you, Westerner, who has been propagandized to think the West is good and Russia is evil. Because for at least the past 300 years, the big bad guy in Africa has not been Russia, it's been Western Europe and America. I mean, Russia didn't murder and enslave millions of Africans. Western Europe did that. Russia didn't colonize Africa and wipe out and erase thousands of years of culture and heritage and send its people into slave labor camps. The West did that. Russia didn't build roads only from the mines to the ports to facilitate the mass pulverization, ravaging, and stripping of Africa's natural resources. The West did that. But do you know what Russia did do? After 1945, when all the colonized people in Africa began to rise up against the British, French, Portuguese, American, and Belgian oppressors, do you know who was there giving the freedom fighters guns, ammo, supplies, medical care, and training? Russia was. When the ANC began to fight back against the Western-funded apartheid in South Africa, do you know who was there supporting the fight for freedom? Russia was. There is a reason that to this day, the flag of Mozambique still has an AK-47 on it. It's because the tools of liberation from the most oppressive occupation in human history came from Russia. So the reason so many African people will laugh in your face, Westerner, when you tell them Russia is evil is because you are the one who is propagandized and has fully consumed fantastical history where the West is somehow the good guy. The reality is, the West has always been the villain in Africa. It is still the villain in Africa, as the West to this day continue to fund violence across African nations and assassinate African leaders, so Western corporations can still steal all of Africa's resources under the cover of mass violence and manufactured instability. So yes, even though the Soviet Union is long gone and the Russia of today is a very, very different place, many Africans will never forget that the only European country that ever showed up for African liberation is Russia, and no amount of Western propaganda will ever erase that fact. Because the only people who believe the West did anything good in Africa are brainwashed Westerners. Anyway, something to think about.
So don't tell us who Russia is. Don't tell us who China is. Don't tell us who North Korea is. Either way, don't tell us. Because you have the audacity to tell us about those people, but you can't tell us about you. How can the US tell us about who Russia is, who China is, who North Korea is, who Iran is? I mean, all the other people, right? America will tell us about them, but America can't tell us about her. Europe will tell us about all the other people, but Europe will never tell us about Europe. France will not tell us about France, but France will want to tell us about other people. UK, I mean, all of them, the West, they will talk about this, that, but they will never talk about them. Africa is not a baby. Africa does not need you to babysit because you have never babysat Africa before. Never. You said with us. Never. So let Africans themselves identify who other people are and who you are. Let we be the judge or the judges. The United States does not have the audacity. The United States does not have any means. You are not in any position to be the judge for Africa. That alone, Europe does not have the power of it to be any capacity or any means to be the judge for Africa. Africa is the judge for Africans and for Africa herself. The thief can never be the judge. The thief can never be the judge. The rapist can never be the judge. Let that sink in.
White people say that black people shouldn't be violent and shouldn't be rioting and that we should be peaceful. That shit's laughable. And this is why. Yeah, this is what portions of Hiroshima look like after the US dropped the first atomic bomb ever on their city. Yeah, here's some of the effects of that war. Look at this guy's arms. Damn it. And then there's this in the Congo, where King Leopold disfigured and cut off the limbs of men, women, and children who didn't participate in his nefarious, diabolical actions. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. These white guys holding this person over a goddamn fire. They got the nerve to talk about don't be violent. Then there's this here in the US, Mary Turner and the lynching rampage of 1918. Yeah, so Mary's black husband was lynched. She publicly spoke out against that lynching, and because she spoke out, a white mob snatched her, cut the baby out of her stomach, stomped the baby, and then lynched her. Then there's this. This is a picnic. Yeah, lynch them. Both of these. And look at the white people as they stand up there watching. Yeah. Then there's this. Look at that black man being burned to death. And look at the white mob that's around. Look at all these devils around here watching this. Then this is a guy by the name of Joseph Richardson. This was 1913. Then you have Laura Nelson here. This is Oklahoma, 1911. Then this is Thomas Shipp and Abram Smith. This is 1930, Indiana. Yeah, so European violent history actually extends all the way back to their inception. There's not a time that they haven't been violent since they've been on this planet. So don't come and talk to me about nonviolence. Don't talk to me about, oh, black people rioting. Those are mute points that I don't even open my ears to. As a matter of fact, when it comes to violence, we as black people, we got a lot of goddamn catching up to do to even get close to the level of violence that Europeans have inflicted globally. Oh,
So, how can such people, my black family, say they want to come and die for you? I mean, oh God. How can such people come and say they are coming to fight for an entire continent? How can such people come and say they love African people who have not yet taken responsibility of what they did to you? People who are saying what they did to you was the right thing they did to you. And they call that civilization, by the way. They call that civilization. They did all these horrible things and they call it civilization. So then, how can people do this to you and they call it civilized? And then they see people come and tell you they're coming to die for you. They're coming to save you. If this is how you save people, did they save you in the first place? Did they save you? Did they save you? And they call this civilization. This is what they call civilization. This is what they say, oh, we brought civilization to black people. We brought civilization to the African continent. If to say we were not even producing our own gold, we produce gold. That's why our kings and queens have gold necklace, gold earring, gold suit. We produce iron ore. That's why we use steel to make farm, to cultivate our farm. Was it the white men that brought these things? Oh no, the white man came and saw these things and they were surprised. How these people got this iron ore? How these people melt these iron ore? And they use it to till their farm. How did they manage? They never brought civilization to us. They brought destruction. So do you see their civilization they brought to us? They brought destruction to us and they call it civilization. That is why when the white men, when the Europeans talk about peace, it's war. And when they talk about war, it's actually peace. When they say war, it's peace for us and it's war to them, it's their demise. And when they say peace, it's war to us. They never brought civilization to us. They brought destruction to us and they destroy our civilization, store our civilization, and they use it. We brought civilization to them, rather. We built Europe and America. That is black people's civilization to them. And they brought destruction to the African continent. That was their civilization. They brought us nothing but destruction. And we brought them civilization. We make their farm the cotton plantation, sugarcane plantation. Because these are things that we did in Africa, by the way. We produce Jews. Lakers. We produce on the African continent. Yeah, we were making cane juice. We were making sugarcane and things. We produce it. And we keep on this side, we brought it. When they enslaved us, we start doing it here to them. We built. So we brought them civilization. We built their economy. We built their nation. While they destroy our continent and our nation. So they didn't bring us civilization. We rather brought them civilization. Europeans have never, ever done anything about civilization in the world. They have never had an established culture for humanity. That's lied. They think they talk about Jesus, God, this, that. Those are all African belief. Those are all African belief. White men have never died for African sake. Their civilization is based on destruction up to today. That's what they are known about.
In memory, in rhythm, in soul. You are the flame that has kept burning in the night of oppression. You are the defiance of Queen Nanny, the vision of Marcus Garvey, the revolution of sound that came from Peter Tosh and Bob Marley. Your island is not isolated, it is a beacon, a fortress of the African spirit in the Atlantic. When I listen to Bob Marley, I do not hear entertainment, I hear sacred instruction. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. These words echo in every occupied corner of our continent. For while the chains of iron were broken long ago, the chains of the mind still hold many of us hostage. They come not with soldiers, but with debt. They come not with whips, but with NGOs. They do not enforce submission through colonial laws, but through economic blackmail, cultural domination, and the silencing of truth. Africa knows this well. In Burkina Faso, you are mighty in memory, in rhythm, in soul. You are the flame that has kept burning in the night of oppression. You are the defiance of Queen Nanny, the vision of Marcus Garvey, the revolution of sound that came from Peter Tosh and Bob Marley. Your island is not isolated, it is a beacon, a fortress of the African spirit in the Atlantic. When I listen to Bob Marley, I do not hear entertainment, I hear sacred instruction. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. These words echo in every occupied corner of our continent.
So these are the instructions that we get when we read the book of Nkrumah. When we read the book of Malcolm X. When we read the book of Marcus Garvey. When we read the book of Walter Rooney. When we read them, and many names that I can't call, we read instructions. We listen to directions. We hear the voices of our forefathers. We feel unity. Because when we read their books, even though they live in different time period, but their books speak in one accord, in one understanding. We feel them each time we read. We may not touch them physically, but boom, come on our skin that show their presence in our midst. When we read their book, we don't see Ghana. We don't see Liberia. We don't see Togo. We don't see Nigeria. We don't see Jamaica. We don't see Haiti. We see unity. We see borderless. We see family. We see us on a continent and out of the continent. We see ourselves. But when we read the book of the imperialists, that's the time we see Ghana. We see Nigeria. We see Trinidad and Tobago. We see Haiti. We see Jamaica. Or we see Jamaican. We see Haitian. We see Liberian. We see Ghanaian. We see Nigerian. We see Togolese. We see Ivorian. When we read the book of the colonizer, and we see divisions. But not when we read the book of Marcus Garvey. We don't see divisions. We don't see Ghanaian. Now when we read the book of Nkrumah, we don't see Ghana. We don't see Ghanaians. We don't see Nigerian. We see Africans. We see black people. We see unity. We see the ancient Akuba land. That is why you want to kill Abraham Traore, because he don't see Burkina Faso. He did not a Burkinabes. That is what you want to destroy the Malian or Mali or Gaita? Assimi Gaita? No, he's not a Malian. That is why you want to destroy Tiani? No, Tiani is not a Nigerian. They are from the land of their ancestral, like we are. So before you kill them, you must kill us all. And the truth is, you cannot kill us all. If you could, then by now you have done it. Because guess what? You try to do it through enslavement, you did not succeed. You try to do it through colonization, you did not succeed. You came back through bioweapon, HIV, tuberculosis, syphilis. You did not succeed. You will not succeed. Because we're warrior. We're not men mortar. We're not like you.
Have passed and still we laugh, beat our chest with pride, our self-esteem so high. They tried to play with our intelligence, killed our intellects, told us we were a dark continent, a group of people so far from greatness. Time and time again they tried to break us, torturing our heroes, getting them locked up, pointing guns to our heads, trying to silence us, and when we rebelled they pulled the triggers, piercing bullets into our chest. They thought they killed us. But you can't kill a demigod. You can't stop us from passing this dynasty down to the young ones. These heroic and legendary stories must go on. They tampered with our story, making us to tell our children their story, calling it his story. But we can never forget, because we are the makers and writers of our story, so we must tell. Take away the books, take away the pens, but these stories can never disappear into thin air, because we are not just humans. We are creators. We are the unbeatable warriors. And that's why they are scared of us. That's why they try to kill us. But what they didn't know is you cannot kill a demigod. That's why they try to take away our identity, try to change us to what we are not. But what they didn't know is you can take the man out of the ghetto, but you can never take the ghetto out of the man. That's why they try to kill our very existence, try to throw us into the darkness. But what they didn't know is it is in the deepest darkness that our black shines brightest.
Africa is one. I am not a Ghanaian. I am not a Zambian. I am not a Zimbabwean. I do not recognize a Ghana. I do not recognize a Zambia. I recognize Africa. One Africa, one passport. One passport, one citizenship, one currency, one military command, one central bank of issue, one communication system, one people, one destiny. That is the Africa that we want. And we are here not to beg for it. We are declaring it as of rights. And it is ours to do so. Nobody has the right to sit in Berlin and declare Africa divided. As long as we are concerned, Africa is one. I am not a Ghanaian. I am not a Zambian. I am not a Zimbabwean. I do not recognize a Ghana. As long as we are concerned.
So, having seen all of these things, right? We'll soon be closing. But let me bring out one video from the West about their aim for Africa. Look, anything comes from the Western world is not good. It may seem hard to believe because people receive incentive behind it, but the aim of what they bring is evil. The aim of what they bring is demonic. It's not good. Listen to this. It's kind of long, so we are not going to play the entire thing. I'm just going to play maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then we go. But I want you to see something. And this is about Nigeria. And this is what exactly go on in all African nations. This is what go on in the so-called democratic nation. That is what, look, even the US does not practice democracy. It baffles me. I see Africans talking about democracy, 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 democracy. I ask some of them, do you understand democracy? Why? It's just a name. Why you call democracy?
Not stupid. We are watching what's going on. The Europeans, not stupid. We are watching what's going on in Nigeria. And we too are beginning to feel there's something not quite right here, that maybe the elections are not going to be as straightforward as they're meant to be. Nigeria was being described as the showcase of democracy, and it was expected that the nationalist leaders would win through. But actually, when the election results were announced by the Governor General, before the vote was even in, didn't count for that. He didn't wait for that. I have to tell you, the British were counting the votes, and the British cannot be trusted. They look after their friends. Loyalty is the big thing for the British. And we were friends with the emirs of the north. We looked on people like Inaharo and Awolowo as rather dangerous people. They might even be communists. That's ridiculous, actually. They couldn't be communists in 1,000 years.
This must be the most popular iSmart watch on the market right now. With it, there's
another savior. So, like I said, we are not going to play the entire video, but just from what you heard, he himself said it. And he's a British man, okay, on a cover, worked in Nigeria in so many elections. And you heard what he said. The truth is, there's no election here in Africa, okay? And you heard what he said, inviting these people, these foreigners to come. They're going to elect the leader that they want. It is not a leader, it is their leader. That is why in these so-called democratic nations in Africa, they don't work for their people. Because how can you call a nation a democracy and that leader is not working, that government is not working for 8 people? I thought a democratic nation leader is supposed to work for 8 people. But how can the leader work for somebody outside of 8 nations? Interest against 8 nation interest, 8 people interest against 8 constitution. Most of these democratic nations in Africa, they are against the constitution. Even their president are against the constitution of Liberia. Of Africa. Like my own country, Liberia, our current government is against the constitution of that country. The current government work against the constitution of Liberia. But yet, the U.S. call it a democratic nation because they work in the interest of the U.S. Is that democracy? So what the U.S. call democracy, it is not democracy. So you hearing this British man saying Nigeria was never a country named as a democratic nation for 8 people.
Holy, 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 holy.
If you're new here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more critical updates that mainstream platforms avoid. Today's report examines a chilling confession that may change how we view Nigeria's independence forever. Former British colonial officer Harold Smith made a stunning revelation. He was recruited by the British government and sent to Nigeria with a mission, not to observe democracy, but to sabotage it. According to Smith, Nigeria's first democratic election was never intended to be fair. It was rigged before the ballots were even cast.
Mr. Aaron Smith, you were featured in a program recently by BBC Radio 4 titled Document, and that was hosted by Mr. Mike Thompson. You are alleged that the British government rigged the first and most important election in the history of Nigeria in 1959 in favor of the North. Am I correct?
Yes.
How long were you in Nigeria for?
From 1955 to 1960. And we were based in Lagos. I was on the staff of the Department of Labour. I was largely occupied with employment problems, all the employment exchanges, and statistics and international reports, and was kept pretty busy. I was also stationed in Lagos in charge of the capital and the port. I was the port labor.
Folks, let me say something here. So, in adding to what this man is saying, so you see his job as he was being sent by the British Prime Minister or the British authority to go in Nigeria. Let me just add something on this, right? What did I want to say something. All right, it's going to come back. It's just all right, I got what I want to say. So, in adding to what he's saying here, right? You see, for example, this is how the so-called human rights, Western human rights organization all operate. Look, at this time, if we African have not yet come to realize these things, I'm not saying there are not some independent, all right, some good Westerners. I'm not saying that. But all these human rights organizations, you see, Human Rights Watch, Human Rights Day, Human Rights that, they are all working for the government of the Western world. All of them, they are CIA, FBI, all of them working for the government of their respective country they come from. There is no Human Rights Watch other than your own people or a true Pan-Africanist. There is no Human Rights Watch anywhere. So you see this man, at that time when he was in Nigeria, all the talk, Mr. Heaven or Jesus Christ have come to them. The ordinary citizen thought this man was in Nigeria to monitor the Nigerian election, to make sure Nigeria have peaceful election, to make sure Nigeria's voice be heard, to make sure Nigeria have a president, a democratic elected government. All to them, this white man was a safe haven. But today, this white man is telling them, I was never your safe haven. I was never there for you to have a democratic elected government. You see? Be careful, as the Bible has said. Be careful, as the Bible has said. Their voice are smooth and serve like butter, like oil, but war, sword is in their hand with war in their heart. They are the enemy the Bible spoke about. They are the people the Bible spoke about and said, be careful with them. Their war is smooth and soft like butter, but war and sword is in their hand and in their heart. They are the Bible, they are the one the Bible spoke of. They are the one the Bible spoke of, your enemies. Be careful of them. They are the one. They are the one the Bible spoke of. Your enemies shall let you into captivity. You should go into captivity. You should go on a ship. Your enemy should take you. The enemy is not on the ground, it's not in the sky, it's not in the sea, it's not no dragon, it's not no demon anywhere. It's human being. And they are the one. So you see he's sitting right there talking now. So those of you Nigerians who know this man, who believed yesterday, who have not seen this video, but you still talk about, yeah, this man, you know, he was once there to make sure we have peaceful election, to make sure Nigeria have democratic government, democratic elected government. You see? He's here today. But guess what? This man have no regret in what he's saying because he was there for the interest of his race, for the interest of his government, for the interest of the prime minister, for the interest of the queen. He have no regret. He's happy of what he did and what he's saying down there. He have no regret. The only thing, if we African can listen to it and take it, you know, some of these dumbass African will sit and say that was history, that was in the past. Now things are good. We should move on. It is this stupidest African who will say we should move on. That was then.
Officer as well. And I also devised a port labour scheme and later a social security scheme, which was one of the first in Africa, which guaranteed workers some income after they'd finished work. It was a providence scheme, as I say, it was called the National Providence Scheme, and I was very proud to have put that on the statute book.
So you heard it. All these agents say his name, he said it was a scam. But again, he said he was proud. He's very proud that he did it. But in the same time, he said it was a scam. But again, he's proud. He's proud because he was doing it for his country. He don't care about you. He was proud because he was doing it for his race. He don't care about you. He was proud because that's what his forefather told them. Make sure Africa and her descendants shall never rise. Create institution to scheme them. That's why he's proud. He's not, he don't care. That's why he, gosh.
I was going to ask you what your role is. You've mentioned three important. Is there any particular name given to your office while you were there?
Just like bro.
And see the smile on his face. And to say he did good thing. But to him, it was good thing he did because that was what he was sent for. As an agent, that was what he was planted for. So he's smiling because it benefited him. It benefited their country. And today, he still see the dividend of what he did in Nigeria. Today, he still see the dividend of what he did in Nigeria in his country. So you see he's smiling in the interview. Even though he know all he did, it brought demise to Nigeria and to the African continent. But he's smiling. You see the devil? You see the devil?
I was a labour officer, a senior civil servant.
Okay.
I only intended to stay in Lagos initially for 2 tours of duty. Although because of this conflict with the elections.
What if I told you there's a simple way to look younger and more attractive?
Been shown in studies to actually make you look younger.
There were difficulties. Actually, government wouldn't let me leave the civil service. They were determined that I should stay in the civil service after my 2 tours. And I was offered very considerable incentives, including a knighthood, to stay and work for government. Primarily, this was because I had access to state secrets. I learned, and the governor.
So You see why they didn't want him to leave? Now, it was the British government that didn't want him to leave because he has access to state secret, Nigeria. So they needed more. Or it was the puppet government that they put in place that they didn't want him to go. So you see, anyway, we're going to take this out. But just to see, when Europe, when America come to you to talk about democracy, you should chase them out. Chase them out. None of them should be in Africa talking about democracy. You see what they do? Do you see what they do?
That Captain Thomas Sankara rested in peace. Who told you that Mwalimu Kambarage Julius Nyerere rested in peace? Who told you that Nelson Mandela rested in peace? Who told you that Patrice Lumumba rested in peace? Patrice Lumumba cannot rest in peace, yet he is seeing the situation in DRC of Congo. They can't all rest in peace until Africa is united.
So you mean they didn't rest in peace?
They didn't rest in peace, but they will actually find the peace when Africa is united, because that was their main objective, their main goal, what they were looking for.
If I'm to ask, what do they think about us who are alive, who are not taking care of Pan-Africanism and African unity in general?
Actually, Patrice Lumumba is very disappointed in the situation that is in DRC.
What's your take and what's the solution?
We should stop fighting each other, but use one language. We are one people.
To solve our problem?
Yes, we are one people of Africa.
Do not despise the days of your little beginning.
And I'm going to play the last video and we leave. To those of you African enemies who say China is the problem, I'm not speaking for China anyway, but you have never spoken the way this Chinese man speak in this video. You have never spoken for Africans like that. And you have never allowed Africa to do her own things, but rather you come and kill them. Your language to the African continent is assassination, 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 bumping, sanction, oppression, subjugation, subspecies. You are nothing, you are meaningless, you are useless. That's why you say Africa will not have a permanent seat on the United Nations, because if Africa have a veto power or a permanent seat on the United Nations will be meaningless, the United Nations will be useless. So every time you speak about Africa, it's nothing good. Europe and America, you are the problem to Africa. You.
Use your own brain power to make up your own judgment. In the world of today, you hear a lot of talks about whether, Africa should be forced to make a choice between China versus the United States. I think that's the wrong choice. The real choice for Africa, as well as for the rest of mankind, is whether the United States is doing the right thing or is doing the wrong thing, or whether China is doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. If the United States is doing the right thing, work with the United States. But if the United States is doing the wrong thing, why should you bother about working with the United States or following its leadership? Similarly, if China is doing the right thing, why don't you want to work with China? And, God forbid, if China is doing the wrong thing, why should you work with China? That means African countries, people in Africa, need to use your own brain power to make a decision first, whether this country or that country is doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Don't be forced by any other country to make a choice which will not serve your fundamental interest. Now, when I traveled a little bit in Rwanda yesterday, in Kigali, let me tell you my real observation. I think Kigali is in better shape today compared with China back in 1978, when China started to reform and opening to the outside world, attracting FDI into China. The philosophical point I want to emphasize is that if China can do this in 46 years, Rwanda and Africa can do it in the coming 4 decades or so. Have faith in yourself. Keep faith in yourself. China is a success story which can be repeated by the great people here in Rwanda and the great people here in Africa. Now, another piece of advice. What is the foundation upon which security should be based, not only for Rwanda, but for Africa? Security never exists in a vacuum. Security should be based on several things, which are the pillars. One is maintain stability at home. The other one is keep peace with your neighbors. And the third one, as Deng Xiaoping, for whom I had the great honor to work with before, development is the hard truth. Develop, develop, develop. I understand even in this great country of Rwanda, you may not have sufficient amount of power. Focus on that. Get that done. That will provide a much better context, whereby security for Rwanda, security for Africa as a continent will be better reinforced. Thank you.
Wow. All right, so that's a message for Xi Jinping, right? Now, you see what he just said? The United States and Europe have never, ever come out to say security in Africa. The United States and Europe have never, ever talked about African taking development, using their resources, naturalizing their resources and things, like how the Chinese man, Xi Jinping, said that, look, Africans, prioritize your interests over other nations. U.S. have never done it. But the U.S. anytime, I mean, look at this man's speech. The U.S. will go on the African continent to talk about issues affecting Africa or issues about African, but the U.S. will say, while we are here, it's all about U.S. interests, U.S. interests, U.S. interests, U.S. corporation, U.S. corporation, U.S. mission, U.S. mission, U.S. military, U.S. military, U.S. military. Those are the things you will hear. But here's this man in an African country saying, look, you can be more than China. Since when have the America gave speech and said you can be more than America? But here this man saying, look, if the Chinese did it, you can do it. When have the U.S. talked about your resources should back your currency, or your currency should be backed by the resources? Here is this Chinese man sitting down talking about those things. When have the U.S. talked about United Africa? Here is this Chinese man sitting down talking about power for African. Since when have the U.S. and Europe talked about power, African people taking power? Never. But a Chinese man, Xi Jinping, sitting down talking about African unity, African empowerment, talking about African military. When he said power, he's talking about African military. Since when? The colonizer does not want those things to happen, so they will never talk about it. All the U.S. speak about U.S. interest, U.S. interest, U.S. operation, U.S. operation, U.S. military, U.S. military, U.S. military, U.S. interest, U.S. taxpayer, U.S. are citizen, protecting U.S., protecting U.S., protecting this. That's all they talk about. Go to hell. Peace, family. I end with this story today. I will see you guys Saturday and Sunday.
The white power structure, because that's all we have in America. And the white power structure